This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jumbo, a very good afternoon. And we're right here in the Maasai Mara. The Mara Triangle. Looks like we have a little bit of a drizzle. And it looks like it's going to get heavy on that side, but not on this side. But it looks quite awesome. I hope it stays away for a little bit. Welcome to your afternoon live safari, live from the African wilderness. Jumbo, everyone, welcome to this afternoon live safari. Remember, it's our last one for this time, but it's such a joy to be out here in this lovely setting set by nature, and I cannot complain. My name is Isaac, and on camera I have Bungei. Our mission today is to try and find the Olololo Pride. I haven't seen them, and I'm feeling like it's my day to find them. Remember to talk to us on hashtag WildEarth. Questions and comments are really welcome. And also you can send in your kids' question at WildEarth TV. This afternoon, it's quite cool, 23 degrees Celsius, and the weatherman is very wrong. He predicted that, the precipitation is about 18%, but I'm getting some rain. Remember, I'm joined by my colleagues in Southern Africa who will be introducing themselves, so sending those questions and comments. Yes, elephants, always a pleasure to see them. This looks like a good size herd, very spread out. They're in this small mash that they love. If you're ever desperate of elephant, this is the place to be. Yes, it's getting heavy, but yes, it's getting quite heavy, and we have to close down. So let's take you to the next live location.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're off to a great start watching two southern ground-billed hornbill. Oh my goodness, why can't I talk? You know what I'm saying. And they're hunting. They're catching all sorts of insects on the ground here. There's a pair. And I can't see the other one, but I imagine it would be the male and female pair of the monogamous sort of pairings. And we see them a lot lately. They're always around, and I think they're about to start nesting. My name is Lauren. I do have Theo on camera, and I promise I can talk today. It's just rather hot. The sun is beaming down, but it's better than rain. Oh, look at this one running. It's running, Theo. These are such wonderful, wonderful birds, and we're getting to spend a lot more time with them on Djuma these days. Like, wait for me. I'm not able to see the throat. The females have a blue... Where are you running to? Are you late for something? Oh. I always find it rather entertaining when birds run. But we're really lucky to spend time with these creatures. We went a long time without seeing any southern ground hornbills. There you go, I can't see it. And all of a sudden there's quite a lot, which is a really good thing for the populations. What did it catch? The Sabi Sands population, at least, or the Kruger populations, they're listed as vulnerable globally. Their populations are in decline, but localized in this area, they do seem to be doing very well. Oh, the Impala are about to run as well. Where's everybody going? I feel like we're missing something. There's possibly a party at a Waterhole that we haven't quite been invited to. I think we're going to try and get a little bit closer because they're going to go behind this tree, but not too close because they can be rather skittish. Aisha, no, they do not nest on the ground. They are not ground nesters. They are called the ground hornbills because, well, you can see they spend a lot of time on the ground walking. Oh, no, don't go that way. And feeding. They feed on all sorts of things. They've been known to smash open the shells of tortoises to get to the inner juicy parts. They'll eat frogs, they'll eat snakes. I think it's going to take off. Insects. They love termites, but no, they don't nest on the ground. They nest in trees, and their nests are actually very, very large. There's a project here right now trying to monitor the ground hornbills' nests because the populations are in decline. They don't like to be followed too closely with the cars, I'm afraid. So they normally sort of use not a branch. When you see nests that are placed on a branch, they tend to use a cavity or some sort of hole in the tree that's already been formed by something else, and they'll utilize that to place their nest. They can also use rock faces, but generally speaking it's trees and it's high off the ground. They don't use embankments or any sort of area on the ground like, for example, the spotted eagle owl. And because they have such powerful, sharp beaks, the females are known to sort of adapt the cavity, if you like. If the hole's not quite big enough, or she's not quite sitting right in the hole, or the nest is not comfortable enough, they can use their really powerful, strong beaks to peck away and make it the size and shape that they wish. Oh, I think we've lost them there. They've gone to the other, or they're heading to the other side of quarantine. So I think due to the high temperatures of today that are already affecting my brain, we're going to do a waterhole bumble.
Good afternoon everyone, and a very warm welcome to andBeyond Phinda. And we found a very sleepy little zebra foal lying next to its mum in a little bit of shade. We've come out to the eastern parts of andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve to look for a different cheetah. So the last 2 days we've been looking for a female with tiny little cubs, but we've come to look for a different one with slightly older cubs. So my name is Grant, and behind the camera this afternoon we have Glenn for the first time on Phinda. And so we're hoping that this afternoon we're going to be able to find that female cheetah. She was seen not too far from where we are on these open grasslands. So we've come to explore and see if we can maybe find them this afternoon. And we've come across this foal that's sleeping, and it was in mom's shade. And just got its head up now. But really peaceful scenes out here. We're searching for any kind of clue as to where those cheetah might be. So with the zebra being quite relaxed and feeding, no sign that they're in the immediate vicinity. And there's some wildebeest. You see them, Glenn? There's wildebeest chasing each other in the background.
Yeah.
They're all...
There's something spooked there, mate.
I think they're just chasing each other. You see there's two bulls there that just did a little spin.
I'm on them, yeah.
I think they're just having fun. So typically if there was a predator around, wildebeests, those wildebeests will be looking at the predator, possibly snorting, giving their alarm call. And for now, they're just happily running around. They stopped for a standoff. So you see the surrounding areas, this beautiful open flat grassland. It's a great area for something like a mother cheetah with her two little cubs. Well, the two that we're looking for this afternoon, those of you that watch regularly would have seen them before. They're about 8 months, 9 months old at the moment. So following mom quite actively, trying to get involved with the hunts, and with all the Impala lambs that we're seeing around at the moment, definitely trying to take one down themselves. And what we'll see in hunts in the future is mom catching but not killing those little lambs, and then leaving it for the cubs to practice their killing skills, practice their takedowns. Rosalind is asking, at what age do zebra foals learn to walk? And so they are ready to walk pretty much the second that they come out of their mom. So the second they're born, they start moving around, trying to use their legs, and it takes them sometimes as little as 10 or 15 minutes to stand up. So once they drop, mom will lick them clean, and that little foal will start to try to stand up, and initially it will be very wobbly and unstable and fall down a few times, get back up, and just keep trying to get up and walk. But by about an hour's time, they're almost able to run already and will be walking behind mom, starting to move. And then in the first few days, mom will make sure that foal moves quite a lot to activate all those muscles, develop all the muscles that it's going to need to run away from predators, especially in the early days of its life. But a lot of their time thereafter will be spent like this, just lying down, resting, suckling milk from mom, preserving energy and growing. So it's a very quick process, that learning to walk for zebras and most of the other antelope. Well, all of the other antelope. Thanks, Sinak. So Sinak's asking how vulnerable zebra foals are to predators. So, as you can imagine, in those first couple of days, the zebra foal will be very, very vulnerable. But their main predators will be lions. Lions will try to spot zebra foals and try to go for them specifically, because they will be under or not yet fully developed, and if a lion can get close to and get its paws on a zebra foal, the zebra foal won't have much chance of escaping. Whereas once they're bigger and stronger and older, they will be able to kick and fight and sometimes get rid of the lion that's right behind them. But it's mostly lions, but zebras have developed an amazing strategy where, oh, there we go, the little foal has just stood up. And what I wanted to explain to you was, if you have a look at that little zebra's legs and you compare them to mom's legs, you'll see that where the body of the zebra starts, it's almost at the same height, pretty much is the same height as mom's body. And so when there's predators around, all the other zebras in the herd will stand around the little foal, and by doing that, they they conceal that foal, so it might suckle. They will conceal the foal, and so the predators won't be able to pick the foal out from the rest of the herd because of the fact that its legs are the same length as the rest of the zebras. So they have these amazing strategies that have developed over years to deter the predators or prevent them being preyed on. I would say, other than lions, you get the odd big leopard that will take a zebra foal. Cheetahs, so the cheetah that we're looking for wouldn't really be a threat because Mom would defend that little foal quite ferociously. But we do also, of course, get coalitions of male cheetah, and those coalitions of males will chase a herd of zebras and will try to cause panic. And when they panic, sometimes a calf is separated from its mom, separated from the herd, and a coalition of 2, 3 cheetahs will definitely be able to create that chaos and bring down. They'll definitely have the power to bring down a zebra foal. But mostly they have to worry about lions. So all of these zebras out here will be on the lookout permanently for lions. But Mom especially, she'll be watching for any predator. So you'll see their tails also moving in the wind, and being out in this open grassland, it is quite exposed. But for the zebras, it's a great thing because they can see any predators. So for now, it doesn't seem like there's anything right in this immediate vicinity, but we are going to continue checking around this area. As I said, the female cheetah and her 2 cubs were seen not too far from here yesterday evening, so maybe they're still somewhere in this area.
Good afternoon, everybody, and a very hot welcome to andBeyond in Ngala. I am sitting at Clara Dam and I'm watching this pair of Egyptian geese with their 12 little goslings. And every time I come past here, I count them to make sure how many there are every single time. But it's actually incredibly cute to see that they're out on the water. My name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide on safari for this afternoon. Behind the camera, we have Sebastian. And we are actually really excited, hoping that we're going to find the wild dogs for you again this afternoon, because they actually weren't too far from here this morning where they went and fell asleep. So that's the plan for the afternoon. But I thought I'd stop off here at the dam first and just see what's happening. And there's a few hippos in the dam. We've got this little family of geese and some impalas at the back of the dam. It's an incredibly hot afternoon here. It's probably one of the hottest we've had in about a week or so. So I was hoping there might be some elephants swimming here, but maybe they'll be coming in a little bit later. There is still quite a nice breeze, so I can imagine an elephant standing under a tree flapping those ears. But the hippos are definitely enjoying being underwater today. They certainly need it. And I think that little family of geese is also enjoying the coolness of the water. So what I actually want to do this afternoon is I'm going to spend a few more minutes here, but I'm really, really hoping that those wild dogs are going to be making their way here because they know maybe, the hippos are agreeing with me, they know that a lot of the other animals are going to be coming down to the Waterhole tonight. And this is the same Waterhole where we saw that interaction the other day of the wild dogs with the waterbuck, wildebeest, elephants, and all the other species. So I'm hoping it's a good luck dam for the wild dogs. I think it is. I think they will be coming here later. But it's actually just so incredible to feel the heat of today compared to what we had yesterday. At this time yesterday, it was raining so hard you couldn't even step out of your door without getting soaked. Of course we did anyway because we enjoy the rain. So we are very, very lucky today. Because it is such a nice sunny day, I think that's going to be actually quite helpful for us, because when it's a bit cooler, the animals move quite a lot further. So we might not have actually been able to have a clear idea of where the wild dogs would be this afternoon. But I have a feeling with how hot it is that they literally have not moved at all. And what's nice as well is that we know then that this dam is going to become what we call a hot spot. Because it's so hot, things will be coming down. But I love watching the hippos bobbing up and down out of the water, flicking their ears as they come up and watching us. Definitely one of the stranger animals out here on safari. So I don't know if you can hear the wind in the background, if you can maybe hear some of the birds. But there's definitely more rain coming. We've got rain predicted tomorrow and the next day. And I'm looking at what's happening around here, and I don't think you'd be able to see it on camera because the birds are quite small, but there's a lot of swallows coming in and out, dipping into the dam. And they're flying quite low, even around the edge of the dam. So I'm thinking there might be some insects that are coming up. And that can actually be quite a good indication that there is weather coming in terms of rain. Just have a listen to all of the bird sounds around us at the moment. It's incredible. There must be at least 15 species of birds that I can see in here. So I'm going to sit here and watch these swallows dipping for a bit longer, and then I'll head on and see if I can find the wild dogs for you. That is the best plan for a day like this. It is so hot that sitting at a waterhole is the best thing you can do, because everywhere else animals are lying low, like our spotted eagle owl here, lying very low until we turn the corner and could actually see it properly. Hi everyone, my fine friends, it's me, Trishala, and I have none other than Gert on camera with me this afternoon on Djuma Game Reserve. And so far it's pretty hot. That's why we're down in the Mowati, and we managed to find our spotted eagle owl friend here. Only one of them. I can't see if it's the male or the female. And I know what you're all asking, and no, I cannot see our Olivia, and I don't think that she is around or with us. If she is, that would be awesome, but I think that we can just appreciate the adults for now. Much like Tessa, I'm heading down to the dam to have a look at what's going to happen out there. That'll be the way to spend basically the first 2 hours of game drive today because of the heat. Twin dams, let's try Buffelshoek Dam, try Chitwa. I'll definitely be looking for some elephants. I haven't had enough elephant time, and I've already been back for 2 weeks. So send me all your elephant good vibes. Buffalo, you'd like to know how fast they can fly? Buffalo, I really don't know. Actually, how fast an owl can fly. I can tell you about their adaptations for silent flight. So they are fast flyers, but definitely not the fastest. For example, Cape turtle doves and doves, they fly at about 80 kilometers per hour, which is pretty impressive, I think. And these would probably fly less than that, a speed less than that. But their adaptations are not for speed, but rather for silent flight when it comes to owls. So the ends of their feathers are all kind of frayed. And when this flapping sound that a bird creates that can alert you to its presence happens because the wind or the air is moving rapidly over the wing. But that's because
the edge of feathers can be quite rigid and almost stiff. So the owls have frayed edges of feathers, and that means that the air doesn't just fall off the edge of the feather, but it gradually makes its way through these little frays, and that dampens the sound as they move through the night, which is very, very important because they need to catch prey at night, as well as through possibly having to go through branches to get to the ground before they catch what they need. They also flap their wings very few times compared to other birds. That also limits or minimizes the amount of sound that they make. Very cute. I often find that owls have a somehow humanoid face with the eyebrows and all, the ear tufts. They look like eyebrows, and they have complete eyelids that other birds don't have. So they look very human-like to me. Anyway, we're going to keep on going on our river cruise through the Mawati and end up at Twin Dams, and we'll see what we find along the way. Welcome back to Clara Dam here at andBeyond Ngala, everybody. So I decided to spend a few more minutes here at the dam because I noticed the hippos were becoming a little bit more active, but also there's some waterbuck coming in from the left, and it just reminded me so much of that sighting that we had on Saturday with the wild dogs and the waterbuck. And it's not something we get to appreciate very often. It's just how unique looking a waterbuck is. So I've always thought they look a bit like a fluffy donkey with that white ring on their bum, and they're actually chasing each other. That's actually a male and a female coming down. You can see the male is the one with the much larger horns. The female doesn't have horns. And it looks like a whole family, very possibly the exact same family that we had that interaction with here 2 days ago. So for them, it's quite important. As soon as it gets hot, they'll come down to the Waterhole. They're probably feeling extra cautious if they do remember the wild dogs, which I'm sure they do. And it's just incredibly peaceful sitting here at the dam. We've got the Egyptian goose family coming out towards the hippos. We've got the impalas coming in from the back. And those waterbuck just starting to wade into the water. And it really is perfect weather to be sitting at a dam today in this heat. So I think from here, I'm going to go see if I can find those wild dogs. And maybe they actually come back here later on in the afternoon.
Well, a wonderful afternoon to everybody. A very warm afternoon. It is about 32 degrees this afternoon in Tswalu, so about 89 degrees Fahrenheit, and we are definitely feeling it. Now, once again, the clouds being very creative for us. Beautiful accumulation of cumulus. And we're just enjoying the beautiful sights and sounds of the birds. Good afternoon, my name is Kyle, and behind camera is Owen. Very warm welcome to Owen. And thanks for David's hard work, and I hope he has a good time on leave. A little bit jealous, but he'll be back soon. It's a fantastic afternoon, seeing these little busybodies. It's a fairly small nest in comparison to what we have seen. We are stretching south-southeast for this afternoon, and we are going to be meandering through the undulating topography, going down to those mountains in the distance, and we're going to go look around a watering hole for any tracks of lions, maybe some buffalo, and obviously being close to that life-giving water is always a treat and a hive of activity. So throughout the show, if you guys have any questions, any comments, please, for our young ambassadors, that's kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. For everybody else, just hashtag WildEarth or @FC. Any comments, any queries, any stories you guys want to share, don't hesitate. So these birds continuously busy, adding and maintaining this enormous structure. And through these hotter periods, these birds will seek refuge inside this nest. That nest could be anywhere between 10 and 8 degrees cooler through these hotter midday periods, which is a great advantage. And that's what animals have to deal with out here, is big fluctuations of temperature, that of winter and summer. So having a big, stable, humble abode like this here is definitely a huge advantage, where you don't need to be utilizing a lot of your own resources for warmth or cooling, that is. Red-crested coron busy calling in the distance. Nice little breeze to keep things cool. And what a beautiful scene here. So just below this tree, this little grassy patch is... Oh, hold on tight. We're going to send you off somewhere very quickly.
Hello, and we are back. Although it's still raining, we're trying to stay away from the rain, but as you can see, it's still raining. We found the Tswalu Pride, and it's the 3 common lionesses. This is a mother with her cubs, and they have kept a very strong bond, and it's something quite unique to me, and even for you followers. You've noticed that they've never separated. This collared girl and her 2 daughters. The one daughter is quite pale, and they're always together. They travel very, very far, quite a long way. And there was a time they went all the way to Orponyata Swamp, which is almost 30 kilometers from here. And that was the farthest I've ever seen. But now they're back here. And it's quite unique for me to always see them together. I don't know when they will mature and stay away from the mother, but since they belong to the same pride, I don't know if when they give birth, because already they're pregnant, if they'll try to split away from the mother. The one to the right definitely is looking at something. Way down there's some toppies, but we cannot show you because it's raining and the rain is coming from behind, so we've covered the vehicle halfway and opened one side. Sometimes during rain like this, they take full advantage because the smell is masked by the rain, and also some antelopes tend to face in a direction where the rain is coming or put their backs towards the rain, and they do nothing. And usually lions, cheetahs, leopards take full advantage of that. I think the toppies, I cannot see them. Maybe they're walking around, and the lionesses are still judging when is it the right time to go. Their beautiful eyesight, or their amazing eyesight, helps to detect, when is the right time to go. But definitely that look is a look of, there is food. Yeah, licking the skin or the fur after rain is one way that predators get water. Those lions that live in very arid areas, whenever there is rain, you'll see them licking one another, and that's how sometimes they get a drink. The Tswalu Pride has split quite a bit. I saw Olalashe yesterday all by himself, and now today there is 3 lionesses. I don't know where the rest are, but every couple of days they always join together. I'm staying here. Hope the rain will stop. Let's take you to another location.
another water monitor lizard, but I think this one's got a broken right wrist, possibly. Sort of that wrist joint, if you like. I don't think it's the elbow joint. But it's not using that right front leg properly. It's still mobile, it's still definitely moving from A to B. But there's definitely something wrong there. It's making its way to the water. Let me see if I can move forward, Theo, and we can get it sliding into the water. I'd love to be doing that right now, sliding into the water. Okay. Can you see it, Theo? We may have lost our monitor lizard. The plan of watching it slide into the water may not happen after all. I think it's far too hot. It could possibly be seeking shade as well. I'll give it 5 more seconds. Nope, I think we've lost him. But we shall give you a view of the dam. Oh, no, Lauren's stalled. Lauren's not having a good day today, is she? There we go, twin dams. Or at least one half of twin dams. I have to say, I rarely see any activity at this dam. I think it's the dam that I see the least activity. In terms of just general birds. Antelopes coming to drink. Elephants. Even leopards. I don't quite know why that is. But it's a dam where you only really see Egyptian goose. Okay, so we are going to continue our bumble through Djuma and see what else we can find for you all.
Well, hopefully it's a good bumble through Djuma, Lauren. We're still enjoying these beautiful sociable weavers and just taking the time to appreciate and really get tapped into the sounds and smells. It's very, very beautiful right now. Oh, on another note, for all of our thrill-seeking adventure people, don't forget to check out WildEarth.tv/explorers for that new initiative that has just taken off. Very exciting stuff. It's a very nice platform to really get tapped into all the wonders of nature. And obviously the backdrop of this beautiful nest, if Owen can give us a bit of a wider shot, you can see how this green carpet is starting to change color into this uniform yellow, daisy, sun yellow carpet. These are what we refer to as dibblekeys, or the genus is Tribulus. Very beautiful and very dominating species of flower throughout Tswalu. And we can have areas that get flushed by this like golden sea yellow at times through the summer period. Obviously very, very successful strategy. You can see by its occurrence just in this little patch that it is a very successful little plant. Fantastic clouds, beautiful cumulus. You can see those beautiful flat bases. Archibald, how long does it take to build this nest? This nest would have taken these birds, maybe about a year, let's say a year. Obviously, the building rate can vary depending on the individuals themselves, of how many individuals are currently building at one nest site. But you can have these nests lifespans extending for over a decade. This one over here, if I just have to think just practically, I'd say about a year to build something like this. But it's continuous work, so it doesn't stop. So it's not a due date to say, okay, it's taken them a year. It's something that is continuously maintained and continuously expanded by individuals that obviously come in and are finding a place inside this communal nest. It's a remarkable structure. Not only the birds are benefiting from this tree, but the tree is benefiting from the birds as well. So you think about the birds, when they go to the toilet, they just put their rear ends out the hole and then they drop their droppings onto the floor. And now when we have rain, that obviously filtrates through the soil, and all that nitrogen and phosphorus is then allowed for the tree to take up. And it's very, very important. Those are what we refer to as one of your macronutrients, phosphorus and nitrogen. Very, very important elements. Everything needs that. Nitrogen, phosphorus, carbon. It's basically your building blocks of life. So in hindsight, these birds with the tree are helping each other out. It's a very beautiful relationship that's going on here. But I'll try and ask Dylan, because Dylan would have a little bit more extensive knowledge. I'll try and get a certain meter, so let's say a certain size nest, and then I will get a rough estimate on how long it would take a group of birds to build, for example, 1 meter by 1 meter. I'm sure I can unearth a building or nest building rate. There's a tree skink, Owen, on the tree. If you come down the main stem onto the trunk, where the trunk splits, there's a tree skink on the end there. Come all the way down, where it splits near this little bush at the bottom. Keep on going, you'll see it on the right-hand side of the tree. Got him, yes! Little skink. Little tree skink. Also another organism that benefits from this tree, and as well as from these sociable weavers. Beautiful little calls you can hear from them there. And that little tree skink just residing in the shade there, absorbing warmth, looking for food. Sure, getting quite breezy now. These little birds are having difficulty to fly around the nest. Alright, just from that skink, I just want Owen just to zoom out quickly and just take a look how this nest is moving in this wind, and shows you how strong this tree needs to be to support this structure. Shelby, does the rain damage the nest? You would definitely have strands or pieces of material coming off, without a doubt, but it's not that action which damages the nest. What is a real threat here through the rainy period is the absorption of water into the nest. So the material is dry, and when we have a downpour, that material then absorbs the water. And obviously from absorbing the water, it's making the nest weight heavier itself. And that's when we can have, unfortunately, limbs breaking, big branches breaking and snapping from the excess weight that has been soaked up into this dry material. So if we had very stormy, very windy periods, you definitely have a lot of material coming off from very vigorous winds. But it's the absorption of rain, or the absorptive factor, that is a big negative influence on these nests. So once it gets to an extreme weight where it just snaps branches like toothpicks, and I'm talking about branches that would be as thick, if not double the thickness of your thigh. So put your two thighs together and imagine a branch that thick snapping from excess weight. I mean, the tree is really taking a massive load here, even a small tree like this. Beautiful green. Obviously the color that they're reflecting, if you look at leaves themselves being green, that's the one color that they're actually not using. For now, we're going to continue. We're going to send you off to one of our colleagues, and we'll see you when you get back this side.
Seems like this afternoon we're going from one weaver species to another. So I'm here at andBeyond in Ngala, and there's an incredibly active flock of southern masked weavers that are coming in and out of their nests and socializing quite a lot, which is not something I've seen very often. They're interacting, they're chasing each other, they're talking a lot. So I don't know if you can hear all of the bird calls in the background, but just have a listen. So at the moment I can hear Egyptian geese, I can hear tawny-flanked prinia. And now I can hear the weavers. And it's really unusual because we don't normally see them this active, where they're not only in and out of the nests but interacting with each other. And this would be one colony of weavers, so this might be only one dominant male and the rest might be females. He might have built all of these nests, although there could be up to at least maybe even 9 males here that have multiple females. So he will have built each one of these nests, and only once the female has decided that the nest is good enough and she accepts it, will he build that little tunnel that hangs off the bottom, and then she'll move into the nest and lay usually anywhere between 1 and 6 eggs that all hatch at different times. But there's actually one here that's busy taking all of the leaves off of this branch, and I have no idea why it's doing that, because it's not actually picking the leaves up, it's just taking them straight off the branch and letting them fall, which I've never seen before. So it's incredible. With these particular weavers, if this female has not accepted a nest, he actually abandons it. Sometimes she might even start to deconstruct it and he has to start all over again. And it's incredible to watch. I don't know if any of our viewers have ever actually seen one being built before. These ones are made from grass, but they could be made from palm leaves as well in other areas. And he actually like almost ties a loop around the branch and ties it on, and then from that loop he starts building this basket. And then only once she's accepted it does he build that little, it's almost about a 2 centimeter little tunnel at the bottom for them to enter. But it's incredible. I think what a lot of people don't realize about birds like this is that one male will actually have many females that he mates with. Steve, yes, nests can definitely get mold. I have seen, especially things like leopards, if they really are hungry and they see a bird nest in a tree, they might try and get the nests down. They destroy the nests and eat the chicks. There are even some bird species that would parasitize this. So the Deirdre's cuckoo is a common parasite of these birds, so they wouldn't destroy the nest, but they would certainly lay their eggs in the same nest. And a male might even move or deconstruct his nest if a female hasn't been happy with it. So if she isn't happy with it, he won't actually pick it up and move it somewhere else. He abandons it and starts again, but he might start deconstructing the one that was rejected by the female to use the materials for a new nest. But it's very interesting. They say that one male in a colony like this could have up to 12 females that he's mated with and will each have a nest. Imagine the amount of time he spends building these nests for those 12 females in a breeding season. I don't know why, but especially a southern masked weaver like this has always reminded me of the Kruger Park. I think it's because you see them everywhere. You can always hear their calls. And having come down here so much with my family through the years, I don't know, but a weaver is always just stuck in my mind. It's always the bird that I notice first, other than a lilac-breasted roller. And the calls to me are very distinctive of being in the Kruger National Park. You do find them in other places. This is actually one of the weavers that is common throughout South Africa, and they're residents. They live here. They don't migrate. But to me, it just sounds like Kruger Park. I've got quite a few things that are like that, actually. Certain trees, certain birds, certain smells, especially potato bush, elephants and must. But I've always just found it fascinating to be able to sit here and watch how they're interacting around these nests, because bird social structures are something that's not as well studied as mammals. So it's really lovely to be able to actually see it happening. You can actually see the nest right at the top is still green, so it's still very fresh grass. There's actually a weaver hanging out of it at the moment, so that is still being constructed. You can actually see him constructing that nest. He's taken a piece of grass and he's moving it in and out of the other pieces. It's like weaving it into a basket. And so when that dries, it'll become that brown color like the other ones as the grass dries out. I think in this light especially, it's absolutely beautiful to see those two colors in particular, that very bright green of the grass, but then also that bright yellow on the belly of the weaver, on the chest. That's the weavers making that noise now. They are incredibly active this afternoon. See, even while they're interacting like this, if, you know, an insect or something came past, they might even try for that. They do eat mostly things like seeds and those kinds of things, but they will eat insects as well. And I think they're really enjoying the heat, so they might have struggled a bit more yesterday with the heavy rain. You can imagine how strong that bond has to be onto the branches for these nests to be able to hold the rain and not come off of that branch, but also to be sheltered enough that the eggs don't get wet inside. You can hear all the water thickenings in the background. So you'll actually even sometimes see, especially with this species of weaver, that they might even use leaves at the top of the nest where it's attached to the branch. They might actually cover the top and intertwine leaves into it. And that helps with keeping that top section strong where it's attached to the branch, but it might also help a bit with water retention. So preventing water from getting into the nest. I think I'm going to sit here a little bit longer and just see what these weavers do. They're incredibly active. Maybe we'll see that one building its nest again.
Patience is key. And en route, we decided to stop the vehicle and thought we'd show everybody the spectacular scenery and the very varied topography of Tswalu. So these mountains obviously set in the eastern section of Tswalu, running north-south. So the way that the camera is going now, and Owen's directing you guys, is in a north-south direction, which is the long axis of this beautiful and very varied mountain range. It shows you how quick those clouds are moving. Take a look at that over there. You can see just the shadows being cast on top of the mountains. You can see from that how quick those clouds are moving. When you're looking at clouds, they never look like they're moving very quickly. But when you look at the shadows on the mountains or on the surface, you really get a sense of how fast they are moving. So where Owen's got your attention now, that's where we'll be going, is to that nice green rolling hill there at the base of that mountain. And that's where we're going to end up around that watering hole. And we're going to search for any tracks from lions, buffalo, you name it. We'll try and find some tracks that we can obviously lead up to an animal. Oh, wonderful.
We have found this beauty. It's a garden orb web spider. It's not doing much, I must say. But it is very, very pretty, isn't it? It's got these kind of spiky protrusions on its abdomen, which look quite threatening. But these, much like our golden orb web spiders, are not harmful to us. You can kind of just see what I'm talking about, those little protrusions at the top there, behind the legs. Look very, very cool. It's easy to identify them even from afar because, firstly, they're orb weaving spiders, so they make large webs. And see this little zigzaggy thing that goes from where the spider is outward in the web? There we go. That's called the stabilimentum. And it's a really easy way to identify which spider you've got almost immediately. And you can also tell if it's an adult or a juvenile by the construction of that stabilimentum. So if this is an adult, it's quite straight. Also, you can see she's large. A juvenile kind of makes a stabilimentum that moves all around, not in a straight line. It can sometimes be disc-shaped. So it's a really nice indicator of what we have. The name kind of gives away what we think it's used for. Stabilimentum, to stabilize the web, maybe to strengthen it. But there are other theories. Because this is a spider that builds a large web, it is a big investment to build a web. And silk is an expensive product, as in biologically to create. And also in terms of economics in the world, it's very expensive. But we wouldn't want, if I were a spider that was investing all this time in building this beautiful web, I wouldn't want a herbivore to come through and then crash, tear down my web that I spent so much time and effort making, and that most of the time I eat back up to reintroduce the proteins into my dope, which is what is the liquid form of the silk before it comes out. It's called dope, which I think is quite cool. I wouldn't want anything to crash into it. That's like a important bit of my lifestyle. And we also think that the stabilimentum acts as a kind of sign. It's easier to see than the rest of the silk in the web. So maybe it stops herbivores and other animals from kind of moving straight through them and breaking them. I myself have never eaten spider silk, but there are people in the world who have. But generally you should keep the eating of spider silk to the spiders. Cool, right? I think very cool. Starship, you'd like to know if the spider is pregnant? I wouldn't be able to tell, is the short answer. If she were pregnant, she would find a nice spot to lay her eggs on, and before we know it, she'd have some spiderlings. That would pretty much be completely independent. I think that's a wonderful word, spiderling. But I wouldn't be able to tell if she was pregnant. The males are very, very, very tiny. They're about 0.5 centimeter. Well, this female is about 2.5 centimeters. The male will hang out at the edge of the web and try his luck every now and then and hope that he wouldn't be eaten instead of accepted for his valuable service of helping her reproduce. And I don't see any males on the web with her. Name, you'd like to know what they hunt? They hunt very passively. So they construct a web, obviously, and hope for any kind of insect to make its way to the web. Now, there are other orb web spiders, like the golden orb web spider, that's much, much larger than this spider and can sometimes even take quite large animals like birds and things like that. This garden orb web spider, they can't do that. They're a little bit smaller. But if a beetle, like a dung beetle, which is about bigger than this female, had to come crashing through that net, the web, it wouldn't break it because the silk is very strong. And as long as she can manage to get her chelicerae somewhere embedded into it, she'll be able to liquefy it and eat it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a soft-bodied insect or only, I don't know, just anything literally that can fly and make it into the web is the only prerequisite. But because of her size, you probably won't be able to catch a bird like a golden orb web spider can. It's a very interesting thing to see because if you watch her eat, she will inject digestive juices into her prey, liquefy it, and then suck it up. And in the space of 40 minutes, maybe even less, you get this husk of what once was an insect just lying there, discarded on the web. And webs are interesting historically because spider webs only started to be up into trees. So initially silk was used as a trail and on the ground. And as soon as insects developed flight and started to have wings, then spiders started to produce webs and build webs in trees so that they could catch this new form of their prey that could now fly. And that's an interesting relationship because it shows you directly how this predator-prey arms race occurs. One evolves like this and one has to keep up. So she will take anything that will fly. Well, we're seeing her underside now, and it would have been lovely if she had showed us her overside, her good side, shall we say. But it was lovely to spend this time with the Spidey. Always enjoy some spider time.
Well, we're having a spectacular afternoon, slowly watching animals come down to the waterhole. And here we have a vervet monkey, which is patiently watching one of his friends eating the not yet ripe white berries from this white berry bush. I shan't be eating any of them just yet. I quite like the way my stomach works. I'll wait for them to get ripe before I try any of those. But you're joining me, Mike Anderson, and BK behind the camera here at Eco Training's Pridelands Conservancy, where not only have we got these vervet monkeys, but a few other animals in the water as we speak, one of which is just wandering around enjoying the cooling sensation of the water, I suppose, on what is a very hot summer's afternoon. Nice and still. Oh, look at there's a terrapin coming. Oh, careful. Oh, that's not going to be pleasant. Do you see where the terrapin is there, PK? He is going right between his legs, plucking away the insects from a particularly sensitive area. Look at the terrapin following that buffalo. What that terrapin is after are ticks and parasites that are sticking on his skin, and that's probably in fact the reason why this buffalo is standing up in the water and not lying down. It's giving the terrapins a chance to get at all these ticks that are in places where it can't reach normally. Wonderful cleanup crew. Just like the oxpeckers would do, the terrapins do exactly the same. They eat dead skin and parasites from the skin of this very large male buffalo. See, there comes a terrapin, sneaking his way up. Watch this. Oh, it's going to go right in the shade so we can't see it, but he'll be reaching up with his mouth and plucking off whatever ticks and parasites it can see. Really, really clever. In fact, there's some places where they've become, the terrapins have become so used to animals lying in the water that I remember driving my car through one of the crossings in the Kruger Park, which is where we are, incidentally, and the terrapins came swimming right up to the car, thinking that we were a large animal that they could potentially glean food from. We had to make our way quickly out of that crossing before all the terrapins blocked our path and made it very difficult for us to drive out without damaging any of them. This very old buffalo's got a friend. There's one other buffalo that's also in this waterhole. He is not interested in moving around. He wants a maximum relaxation. He's actually staring off into the distance, almost pensively, wondering what's next on the agenda, pondering life. I think buffaloes do a lot of that pondering. They always look like they're deep in thought. They're either deep in thought or they're extremely grumpy. They've got two facial expressions, in my opinion. But I expect there'll be lots more animals that will come down to the waterholes this afternoon. There is a slight breeze that's starting to pick up, but it's still very, very warm. And these buffaloes will have been in the shade earlier when it was quite hot, but not as hot. And now as it's hit the peak, they are cooling themselves down. And as you can see, this one is still eating. It's digesting some of the material that it collected earlier whilst it was a bit cooler. Continuing to gather food. This is an old buffalo, still powerful, still well muscled, but definitely on his declining years. Probably, close to 15 years old, I'd say. That's generally what they say is the age limit of a buffalo. I suppose it depends what book you read. Some books say up to 25. I suppose it all depends on the area they live in as well. If there are plenty of predators and not so much food, they might not live as long. Places where there's lots of food and less predators, they might live longer, living a bit of an easier life. The buffalo moved a little bit and the terrapin actually swam up to it again. Very persistent. If we can see one terrapin, I wonder how many are actually busy plucking away at those sensitive underparts. It must be quite uncomfortable if the terrapin gets a bit more of a mouthful than it was expecting. And in the background there, I'm sure you can hear a bird making a wonderful high-pitched noise. That is a really special bird that's just arrived a few weeks ago, the woodland kingfisher. Spectacularly bright blue turquoise bird. I saw it fly across the buffalo earlier, but it's now sitting in some of these leadwoods in the distance. In fact, I can see it from where I'm sitting, but I don't think, BK, you'll be able to see it. Do you see the dead tree there with the buffalo weaver's nests, BK? Then directly behind it, there's a leadwood. On the far left branches. No, I think it's directly behind the tree from where you are. But I'm sure it'll fly. It seems to be very active at the moment. It's calling for a partner. Very territorial. They will definitely fight if any other kingfishers come close to it. Different to these buffalo. Buffaloes are not territorial. They will not fight each other over the dominance of an area, but maybe of females. Max, the buffalo could smell us if the wind was in the right direction. The wind is actually blowing directly from that buffalo towards us. You can see the ripples moving towards us from the buffalo, so I don't think it can smell us. definitely will be able to see us and almost certainly hear us as well. I'm not speaking particularly quietly. I'm sort of speaking in my normal volume. And so it can hear us and probably see us, but not smell us. They have an excellent sense of smell. In fact, I think that's how buffaloes mostly figure out if there's something dangerous around them. Often from a distance, if you're walking towards buffalo, you'll see them all of a sudden raise their heads up and start sniffing the air. If you haven't checked the wind direction properly, or the wind shifts slightly, that's usually the first indication they have. Well, I feel like the wind is shifting slightly. I think the wind is now starting to blow towards the buffalo. So now, Max, it could definitely smell us. No doubt about it. Although the amount of elephant dung, urine, and buffalo dung and urine in this waterhole, I'm not sure many things could smell much around this waterhole. Look at the terrapin following right behind the buffalo. The buffalo being so patient as well. It knows exactly what it's doing. That's why they'll come to water often. Not only to cool down, but also to reduce their parasite load. Buffaloes are not the most flexible of animals. I mean, if you look at that buffalo right now, it's covered in muscle. Look at the back of the neck there and the shoulders. Really massive and muscular. So they're not particularly flexible. Name, I don't think that the buffalo can see the terrapins. If it was swimming directly in front of its face, yes, it could. But behind it like that, no, it wouldn't see the terrapin. This is an old buffalo, so it will know exactly what a terrapin is and what it does. And so it's quite calmly allowing the terrapin to get closer. Terrapins have these sharp beaks. They don't have teeth like us or soft lips. They've got a sharp beak-like mouth. And so when they're clipping away at the parasites and things, the buffalo can definitely feel it. So if you're watching this buffalo now, if it would give a sudden start or like a little hop or a jump, that would most likely mean that the terrapin pinched it a little bit, which would be very uncomfortable. And I'm only seeing the one terrapin. I mean, there must be more around that buffalo, or maybe they're all with the other buffalo that's lying down. Do you see another one there, BK? Oh, there's loads of them. Look at them all over here. So these are all terrapins, you see. They're actually in the shallows looking for insects that are sitting against the surface. Do you see all their mouths working? As they swim back and forth, what they're doing is they open their mouth and they just collect any insects that are on the surface. And there are lots of insects at the moment. I mean, it's been raining yesterday, and now today it's much more calm and hot and humid, and that is the perfect temperature and conditions for insects and larvae to hatch. So they are busy collecting all the little insects that are on the surface, all the things like mosquito larvae, things like dragonfly nymphs, any water skimmers that are on the top there, water boatmen. They'll be snapping them all up. Phenak, I suppose it's possible. So terrapins are carnivorous for the most part. They eat insects, they'll even catch birds, and they'll eat all sorts of fish as well. I suppose if an animal's dung contains something that they wanted, I mean, I would think more a predator's scat would be more likely something that they would eat. Like a hyena scat that was near the water's edge, they might nibble on for the calcium. It's a good question. I don't think I've ever seen a terrapin feeding on dung. I've actually never even seen this before. This is a first for me. I've never had them so clearly. It's amazing what these cameras can do to look so close to these creatures as they move around and do their thing. And quite often terrapins are quite shy. You'll see them dive into the water as soon as a vehicle approaches. But I guess they're getting quite used to it being right next to our eco-training camp. Did you see that there was a tiny terrapin? Look at that one right in the bottom of the screen there. That's a big one, and then there's a tiny little terrapin. Look at that one. That one is probably even smaller than the palm of my hand. Tiny baby terrapin. That one needs to be careful. It might even become a snack for a larger terrapin. But all of them doing the same thing, just swimming along, catching anything that's at the surface of the water. Now, I'm not sure if they would eat the dung. Coprophagia is what that term is called. Many tortoises will do it. Tortoises will eat hyena scat to get the excess calcium. I'm not sure about terrapins. Their shell is quite hard, but perhaps the fact that they live in water means that they don't need to have as much calcium in their diet. It's a good question, Finak. I like it. I'll have to do a bit of research on that one. The whole time we're sitting here, the woodland kingfisher is calling incessantly, trying to attract the females for the very short breeding season that they have. And you can, and there's some Egyptian geese mating. Oh, love is in the air. Did you see that, BK? There was all of a sudden a very lot of noise coming from the Egyptian geese, and one of them was mounting the other one. And a lot of noise, and then all's calm again. So if this is the pair that were at the Waterhole before, they used to have 6 goslings. But all of a sudden, we woke up one morning and there were no goslings left. Not even one. Which means that they unfortunately lost them all to predators. Could be things like snakes. Could be birds of prey. Could be nocturnal predators because they don't stay in the water at night. They'll quite often be roosting in the low branches of a tree. They lost all 6 of them, but it's early enough in the season that they might be able to raise another clutch of eggs. Hopefully. As much as we have a lot of people that say they don't like Egyptian geese because they're quite aggressive, they chase other water birds away from water holes. They are, an important part of an ecosystem. And the youngsters are so cute. Cutest things ever. So that they lost all 6 of them is quite sad. The ones at Leopard Dam, the other big dam on the property, are actually having still 3 left out of their 5, I think it was. Maybe it was more. And they're getting to their juvenile stage where they're beginning to get proper feathers and testing their wings. So the buffalo now is walking out the water, and it was showing us that it can smell us. It was looking at us quite frequently and lifting its head up, looking directly towards us. So it definitely can smell us. See that? It's making its way out the water. Probably had enough for the terrapin, chipping away at, clipping away at any little bits of dead skin. And now it's going to go and head probably into the shade somewhere, or maybe even have a mud wallow right there. I think that's actually more likely what it'll do. Let's have a look. And this one hasn't mud wallowed for a while. As you can see, it's got no mud caked on the side. And they are susceptible. I got bitten by a biting insect, a fly of some sort, about 10 minutes ago. And I'm sure these buffaloes are getting swarmed by them. So the mud will be very helpful if it would roll about in the mud and try and coat itself. So, but nothing is happening in a very fast way this afternoon. He is going to mud wallow. We'll stick around and we'll see what else it does.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, everyone, and we have just found these cheetah that we've been looking for. And funnily enough, we were here about half an hour ago, and the cheetah were definitely not here. They've been lying in some shade, not too far from where we are right now, and we managed to find some tracks going in the opposite direction to what they are going in now. And we went and we checked the roads in that area. It was a slightly thicker area off this open grassland, and we had absolutely no further luck trying to find them. And so as we were finishing the block, it was a very big block at that, we were on our way back to where we had originally started, and boom, there they were, just lying out in the open. So it has been very, very hot today, and my guess is that they were lying in some shade, and some pretty heavy clouds have just come in, and I think from where they were lying in the shade, it's cooled down enough that they felt comfortable coming out. And where we first found them, they were lying in the open, and I'm sure not too far from where they had been lying in the shade. Their tummies are looking quite empty, So I'm sure Mom is now leading them to where she might, or she thinks that there might be a hunting opportunity. Look at that amazing camouflage in the long grass, slightly longer grass. So out here in the open grassland, although we think of cheetahs as sprinters and chasing down their prey, in the open grassland there's not much cover for them. And especially now, this area is recovering from a fire, so the grass is really quite short. And so there's not too much cover other than the odd shrub that you can see in the foreground, which she will use to camouflage herself and to hide behind in order to get closer to some antelope. But that's only if they are out in the open, which they usually wouldn't be. So she is heading for some slightly thicker areas, I'm sure in hopes of finding maybe some Nyalas. Nyalas prefer the thicker areas because they do browse more, and so they will be feeding on leaves in those thicker areas with more shrub-like vegetation. So I think, yeah, definitely she's on the move. So we're gonna stick with her, and we're gonna send you off to another location for now.
We're still with our buffalo bull, and he has begun to wallow in the mud, to cover himself in that nice fine clay that will protect him not only from the sun and from the biting insects, but from the heat in general as it evaporates. You can see he's done the one side. He's basted himself on one side. Now it's time to baste the other side, I hope. Show us how he does it. He was digging in the mud a lot with his horn on his left side. He's trying to loosen up a lot of the clay and also get the mud and clay right in underneath the boss and behind the ears. It's a place where it's not easy to scratch. I'm sure it can get very uncomfortable if there are things there. See what it's doing? It's trying to dig up the mud and get it on its face and get it underneath everything. Loosen it all up. Try and soothe any itches that it might have. Remember, they're not... Oh, now you can hear the woodland kingfisher sitting right above us somewhere. Really difficult to spot. There's two of them, so it's probably a male and a female that are courting. And there they go. Oh, there's four of them. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. I don't know if we'll be able to get them. However, you're going to try? We're going to try and get them because it's very interesting what they're doing right now. There's tons and tons of... they've moved on. Yeah, never mind. They're all flying off, but it was really interesting to watch them do this wing movements. Showing off, but you see there he's digging in that mud, trying to loosen up all the dirt and cover himself, to soothe himself. Actually looks really nice. I'd love to be doing the same. Enjoy it, old chap. You deserve it.
The day has been, or the afternoon has been so quiet that even the Impalas have run away from me. This is the lonely leftover member who feels sorry for me. Oh! Oh yeah, I have two Impala friends now. They're just enjoying the afternoon. It is cooling down just ever so slightly. The air is nice and cool, but the sun is still very, very hot. Especially now, you'll start to see quite a distinction between the bachelor groups of Impala and the breeding herds, and that's obviously because of all the lambs around. But other times throughout the year, you'll find that they can be in mixed herds, and it's not as distinct as it is right now. So you'll see lots of groups of males hanging out together, and then the females are just too busy at this time of year. All these lambs around. Well, I am now going to make my way to Buffelshoek Dam. We've been in the south most of this time. Went to check if the chameleon was around from this morning, but it's so difficult to see in the full sun because of his cryptic coloration. So maybe as the sun sets, depends, or we'll just find another little critter. But off to Buffelshoek Dam we go for now.
Welcome back, everyone. And I don't know if you got that, but those two cubs have just flopped down. The two lying down are the two youngsters. So I would call them sub-adults now. They're about 8 or 9 months old now. So they're almost mom's size. And looking at mom's tummy now, getting another look at it, looks like her and the cubs fed on something today. We've got a slight bulge in the tummy. And just getting comfortable at the moment. See that cub, very similar size to mom, but you can see in terms of height, but you'll see it's got a little bit of filling out to do. Something's got their attention. Oh, it's guinea fowls, yeah. Some guinea fowls just out of the picture at the moment. So Stuart's asking what cheetah's preferred habitat is, and pretty much areas like this. So you'll see behind me it's really nice and open, and they will use these open areas because cheetahs are generally quite threatened by bigger predators, by other animals, bigger animals that might try to kill them to remove the threat on their own youngsters. And so cheetah do tend to spend a lot more time out in the open. Nice open grasslands like this, maybe with some slight rises in them, like termite mounds, where they can get a little bit of elevation and scan their surroundings a little bit better, look for hunting opportunities, and also make sure that it's nice and safe for them. So where they've come to now is just on the edge of this open grassland, but the whole surrounding area of the grassland is more like thicket, savanna, woodland kind of habitat, and that's where their prey species usually are, so feeding on grass and leaves in those thicker areas. And so the cheetah will go into those areas to hunt. But also, of course, if something like impalas wander out into an open clearing like this, then she will try her best, if there's some cover available, to stalk closer to the impalas and then give chase. But what's quite unique about the cheetah on Phinda is they've learnt and adapted really well to hunting in the thicker areas. And so by choice, they actually go into the thicker stuff to hunt. They've realized that they've got a better opportunity at catching or at a successful hunt when they are in thicker areas. And I think it's due to the fact that the prey isn't able to run as quickly away from the cheetah. And the cheetah almost don't actually have to go at their full speed in those thicker areas, which means that when they're not at full speed, they are far more agile and nimble at maneuvering through the thicker stuff. And what sometimes happens, so this young cheetah is actually stalking the guinea fowls at the moment. So we are right on our boundary, and if the cheetah does get a lot closer to the guinea fowl, you might see a bit of the fence, but that's, yeah, like I say, we're right on our boundary at the moment. And so try to ignore the fence, but the guinea fowls are actually busy feeding on some berries on a bush, and it's what caught these cheetahs' attention. And now this youngster feels like it might be a good opportunity to try and catch one. Now, just while that cheetah's standing like that, you can see, if you have a look at the belly, can you see that there's a bulge in the belly? And that wouldn't be there if it was hungry, if it was needing to hunt. So losing interest. So something like a guinea fowl is not something that cheetah would typically go for, and I've actually not heard too many stories of cheetah hunting birds, but the one bird that they do occasionally go for, and that I have seen and heard stories of them catching, is ostrich. But other than that, they tend to prefer going for antelope. Muddy is asking, how often do cheetah lose their kill to other predators? It's quite tough to say, because I would say 80 to 90% of the time that these cheetah actually make kills, we don't see it. And I think quite a lot of the kills that they do make are stolen. But if I had to guess, I would say that it is quite a high amount of their kills are stolen by predators. I mean, I've seen a coalition of male cheetahs make 2 kills in the same day. And the first kill was in the morning at about 9 o'clock. And that kill was stolen by a lioness. And then the cheetah ran away and moved quite a distance away. And then in the afternoon at about 5 o'clock, they caught another animal. They caught an Ngala, and that was in winter, so it was starting to get dark already by 5 o'clock. And that Ngala kill was stolen by hyenas. So, yeah, I would say it's quite high, but luckily here on Phinda, where the cheetah do hunt, is quite thick vegetation. So of course, if they unluckily hunt very close to where a bigger predator is resting, then maybe that predator will hear the distress calls or the commotion of the cheetah making a kill and then rush in. But that would be very bad luck on the cheetah's part, because, sorry about the wind, because most of the time the areas where they hunt, they make sure that it's quite safe for them to be in that area first before actually setting off on the hunt. The other thing that they do is they hunt in the middle of the day when something like a leopard, lion, hyena would be resting. So in the heat of the day, cheetah are actually able to be active and hunt during that time, so that they have less chance of their kill being stolen by something else. I think for now, we are going to sit with these cheetah and see what happens if they maybe venture a little bit closer to those guinea fowl. But we're not going to go anywhere. We will send you off to another location for now.
All right, well, welcome back on board here at Tswalu Kalahari. We have arrived at this wonderful and very large watering hole. It is not to the normal extent. If you were here 3 weeks ago, this was absolutely bone dry. There was not a drop of water. And with those rains we've received over the 2 weeks now, this has really filled out this section. And it is buzzing with life. A lot of insect life. We're obviously going to get down and dirty. I'm going to try and take a closer look at them. Also just enjoying all the beautiful big trees here. And Owen giving you a nice shot. There's a lot of brown-veined whites that are in and out here. There's another beautiful little butterfly species we haven't seen yet, which is called a painted lady. Also very beautiful. Semi-inconspicuous when its wings are closed, but once they're open, very, very beautiful butterfly. Lots of bees. A lot of African honeybees. There's also some leafcutter bees in between here. There's plenty of ants. So perfect spot for us to get up close and personal with the smaller side of life. And also it's a great spot if there's any birdies sitting around here. Obviously to come to Watering Hole, we've done a walk around. Not a single track of a lion. Can you believe it? It's a fairly well-visited watering hole by the Southern Pride. This is part of their territorial boundary, so to say. And it's a frequently visited watering hole by that specific pride. So it just shows you now with the amount of water that's fallen, they don't need to really focus all their time and attention on these watering holes. That's typically what lions do, is they like to visit watering holes because that's where the prey will eventually end up, making their task a little bit easier. We just got some shade from this beautiful and very strange shaped camel thorn. Obviously the growth of these trees are extremely diverse across Tswalu, but providing just enough shade. And where obviously these deep roots will be tapping into all this lovely water available at this point in time. Very songful chirp of the yellow canary. And what we're also going to do is we're going to look if we can try and localize on a frog or two. We've heard the bubbling casino give 1 or 2 calls. It's still very early for them. But hopefully we can unearth another species here and there. So I'm going to have to maybe take my shoes off and get a little bit muddy. Maybe go for a little mud wallow. But just look at the activity of all these butterflies. And you can see the light hitting off the bodies of the insects, especially the bees as they come in. Owen, can you focus on that butterfly right over there? Do you see the stick? To the far right-hand side of the stick. Yes, a lot of insect action happening, and that's because of the water here coming down, and they're obviously sapping up all that they need. Owen, have you got it? So there's the stick. So in front of me, there's a salt block, and then there's a stick. On the far right-hand stick, there's a beautiful little butterfly. I was just trying to localize the spot of this beautiful butterfly. I'm going to go a bit closer here, Owen. Oh, there it flies. Obviously, their eyesight is very well equipped to pick up on any type of movement. But predominantly brown-veined whites, which are very busy at this point in time, obviously using this water, and obviously flowering plants on their massive migratory route from the Karoo all the way into Zimbabwe, stretching over 3,000 kilometers. These little things migrate across the country. So using that extended feeding tube, that proboscis, to pick up on the available water. And there will be some minerals, like we mentioned at the other pan, leaching out from the soil being wetted. Those minerals slowly start leaching out, and this is what the insects are more than likely lapping up. Here's the bubbling casino. Whip. So we're going to get a little bit closer in a few minutes. We're going to see if we can. They're very, very fast and very busy, but I'm sure we will be able to manage it. I'm pleasantly surprised the amount of ants that are scurrying across the surface here. Alright, well, we're going to try and localize some exciting stuff for you folks. For now, we're going to send you off, and we'll see you back here.
We're up in Buffelshoek and we've managed to... Oh, no! Don't worry, Theo's going to come back. Or it should come back. The dragonflies are perchers. So normally once they find a resting spot that they like, they come back using their 6 legs and they perch. I feel I may have anticipated this one incorrectly. No, he's teasing us now. There we go. Look at this beautiful, beautiful insect. And you see how when he had his back to us, the wings are exactly the same size. That's immediately how you know that it is a dragonfly and not a damselfly. But since he's not playing... I'm not having any luck today. Since he's not playing ball, I want to give you a view of this dam. This is Kayamanzi Dam up in Buffelshoek, and it is absolutely stunning and huge. For those of you that know...
Someone's over around Milkberry Camp.
For those of you that know Djuma and have followed us for a while, we always said that Cheetah was the largest dam that we can traverse and visit, but this dam is absolutely ginormous. It's not only ginormous, it's gorgeous. Now they've got quite a population of hippos, but because it's so hot, they're all very much under the water right now. I want to see if we can get you that dragonfly again. Oh, he's back in the same spot, Theo. How long he will stay there for, I do not know. There we go. My favourites. Incredible insects that are very, very old. They're around 300 million years old. Very successful. They're able to catch their prey mid-air with extremely acute vision, excellent speeds and excellent decisions. So to us, they're stunning, but imagine if you're a little mosquito, they're probably not quite so stunning. They're probably terrifying, to be honest. And although dragonflies are very, very small now, a long, long time ago, they used to be much bigger. Around 300 million years ago, they used to be about 75 centimetres in wingspan. It's almost a metre in wingspan. Be like dinosaurs coming out the air. And through the ages, they've obviously got very, very small. And scientists are not sure of the reason for this. And I'm going to try and demonstrate it for you quickly. So I'm going to sit on the top of the car, Theo. I think that's easier. So they breathe through a tracheal system. It's very, very different from us. And they draw in air through the system from the sides. So previously, the atmosphere was very, very different from what it is today. So a bigger insect is going to have a longer tracheal system on the side. So they're going to draw in oxygen, and it's going to travel all the way along inside the insects, inside the bloodstream. But if there's less oxygen in the atmosphere, it's going to harder to get oxygen into your bloodstream. So slowly but surely the tracheal system gets shorter and shorter and shorter because it's more difficult to get oxygen. We've only got about 21% oxygen in our atmosphere. It never used to be like that. So as the percentage of oxygen has decreased, so has the tracheal system of the insects. So as that's gotten smaller, the insects have gotten smaller. So that it's very, very easy to get sort of oxygen in and out through that tracheal system. And that's the main theory as to why insects have gotten smaller and smaller over the years. Now, this has, of course, taken place over hundreds and hundreds of years. And there was actually a millipede. I can't remember the name of the millipede. I'm going to go with giant millipede that used to grow to 2.6 meters. Now that's around 8 feet. So there's lots of different hypotheses why insects don't get that large anymore, but that's one of the theories. There's not the same concentration or the same sort of amount of oxygen in the atmosphere anymore, and that's why it's more difficult for them to breathe. So the gas exchange system of an insect operates via diffusion, and it's more difficult for the oxygen to diffuse when it's lower in the atmosphere. Isn't it fascinating? Oxygen would have diffused a sort of a lot more easily back in the day, about 300 million years ago. Anushka, nice to hear from you. You are asking, where do dragonflies lay their eggs? They actually lay their eggs in the vegetation, I believe. And when it comes to mating, it's not an easy process for the dragonflies. Females sometimes, doesn't sound so pleasant, don't have a choice. They get snatched out of the air. So the male will just pick a female mid-flight, snatch her and mate with her. So it's almost forced copulation, shall we say. And they go through an aquatic phase. The nymphs are aquatic and the adults are terrestrial, they're airborne. So they go through such a dramatic change from sort of, well, aquatic nymphs. They lose all the ability to breathe underwater and they slowly develop the anatomy to not only fly, but to breathe air and be terrestrial. So when they're an adult, that's of course the only time that they can lay eggs. So the eggs are laid in vegetation near the water. Because when those eggs hatch, they hatch as a nymph and they require the water because they are aquatic. So I think if the eggs were just laying on the surface, Anushka, then they would get snatched up by all sorts of predators. So normally dragonflies lay them in the vegetation around the water body. So they're slightly hidden and more protected from the predators. So I'm going to continue my wonderful exploration of Buffelshoek, and you guys are off to another location.
So the buffaloes did eventually leave the Waterhole. They've moved off sort of south of us, but these geese are still here and getting quite active, swimming up and down, and there's 5 of them, and I can't quite figure out what the social dynamic is here. The Egyptian geese are incredibly territorial, so they normally would not tolerate 2 pairs at a waterhole this size. There'd be a lot of fighting. I'm not really seeing fighting right now, so it could be that our geese that we had here have been pushed off and have been replaced by a family with some grown youngsters. I'm not 100% sure. Just noticed it yesterday that there was now a lot more geese than normal. Maybe when that family, or when that pair of geese lost their 6 goslings, perhaps they decided that this was not the waterhole for them, and they went off to find a new spot. And they were replaced by this family here. Lots of calling and then lots of head bobbing and movement. I almost wonder if that's a courtship of some sort. Yeah, still all just waiting here at this waterhole just to see what else arrives. It's now cooling down drastically. Well, not drastically, but it's definitely much cooler than it was. And so now's the time you might find a lot of antelope coming to drink, a lot of other animals coming to drink just before night falls, to make sure that they can rest somewhere away from the water during the night, because too close to the water is a good place to get yourself caught in the jaws of a predator like a leopard or a lion, of which there are frequently at this waterhole.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, everyone. And not much has changed here with the cheetah, but the guinea fowl managed to spot the cheetahs and stopped what they were doing and came, and for the last 5 minutes they've been walking around and around in circles. Must have been like 5 meters away from the cheetah and just making the biggest racket. And of course, now that you've joined us, they've gone quiet and they seem to be moving off a little bit. So they've lost interest in the cheetah, just like the cheetah lost interest in the guinea fowl. But it was a real racket that those guinea fowls were making, and you could just see the cheetah were trying to lie as still as possible, wishing that they could disappear because the guinea fowl would not stop, pretty much shouting at them. So if you look at the 2 cubs, which are the ones on the right hand side, you'll notice that the one that's further away from us is a little bit bigger, but also it's a little bit lighter. The one that's further away is a lighter color. The one closer to us is slightly darker. And I know that the one further away from us is the young male. So these 2, there's a young male and a young female. And it seems as though the young female is slightly darker in color than the male, which is just a genetic thing that's been passed down from mum. So the male is more similar colored to mum, and the female is slightly darker. And you can see the lump or bump in their bellies in both of those cubs. So they are feeling quite content at the moment with full bellies. They've found a nice open clearing here where they've got a good 360-degree view of their surroundings with no thickets or anything around them. So they'll be able to spot any danger approaching. And also they've got a nice clear area where they'll be able to run away if something does come for them. Ryan is asking why cheetahs have a black stripe on their tail, and the reason why, I am not too sure, I must be honest, but I think it's just a part of their coat where the spots on the tail or spots on the body carry on down the tail, and then towards the end of the tail there's usually 2 or 3 solid stripes or rings around the tail. And actually the cheetahs have got a white tip to the tail, so we can't see, unfortunately, in either of the cubs at the moment. But if we look at mom's tail, mom's tail is black, which is not normal. So the tip of a cheetah's tail is supposed to be white, and I have seen both the cubs have got the white tips of their tail. The reason mom is missing a piece of her tail is at some stage, possibly something like a lion or leopard or even something like a zebra was chasing this cheetah and got close enough to just nip at the tail and actually take a piece of the tail off. So she's supposed to have another section of her tail that's got a white tip on it. I'm just having a look quickly in my mammals book to see if there's actually a picture of a cheetah's tail, and I'll show you if I do find it, if it does show the tip of the tail. Kind of. I'll ask Glenn to show you the book, and you'll see in the cheetah book, in the mammals book, if you look at the tip of the tail, I know it's quite hard to see, but you'll notice there's a white tip there and a white tip over there. And so that's how the tip of the cheetah's tail should look. But of course, this female cheetah, the tip of her tail has been taken off at some stage. So the reason, to get back to Ryan's question, the reason why it would be solid black or solid white is so that, especially for a female, so that her cubs can follow her when she's moving through some thicker vegetation or longer grass. And especially for male cheetahs as well, when they're in a coalition, they might get separated when they're moving through some thicker areas, so that white really sticks out, and so they're able to follow one another like that. But I think this spot where these cheetah have settled down for now is a perfect spot for them to rest, and I don't think there's going to be too much change happening here for the rest of the afternoon. So we are going to be moving on from here, and we're going to send you to another live location for now.
Well, you're joining us here at Pride Lands with one elephant bull that's also now come down to Ndlovu Dam. As we said earlier, there is going to be activity of animals coming down now. As the heat starts to die down, animals come in to get their last drinks before nightfall. Now, an elephant isn't particularly worried about a predator, so they potentially can drink all night, any time, because it is full moon tonight, I think. Perhaps it was last night. But it's nonetheless very bright tonight, so they can continue feeding and moving around the whole night without worrying too much about not being able to see. And this elephant right now, not really drinking that much, mostly just splashing itself with water as it cools down. It's not too much of a wind. You can see it's flapping its ears a little bit as well. It's also trying just to cool down its body temperature, pumping blood through those veins and arteries behind its ears. And there you see it having a bit of a drink. There's been a lot less elephant activity at the Waterhole since we had that little bit of rain a couple of days ago. However, it doesn't look like there's any rain on the horizon, so I suspect elephants are going to get very, very busy at the waterholes, especially as the temperatures start to rise again. That cold front passed us, we got a bit of a thunderstorm. The temperatures haven't been as hot since then, but as they rise, it's almost a certainty that elephant numbers at the Waterhole will also rise. So now I wonder, is he going to go towards the mud like the buffalo did, and step over awkwardly this log that's lying down there? Well, there it goes. He's made it over the log. Not too challenging. He is a very tall elephant, so not a problem for him to step over that log. Is he going to make his way to the mud? That's the question. Is he going to throw mud on his body to keep himself cool and safe from biting insects? wonder. Yeah, it looks like it. Animals follow such predictable pathways. You know, as unpredictable as they can be, generally speaking, they are predictable. They have simple needs and wants. You know, human beings, we've come up with these very complicated things that we want. We want this, we want that. We're not happy because someone else has got more, you know, with the advent of social media and all these things. We always want what other people have. And when you're an elephant or when you're a buffalo, all you want is to satisfy your basic needs. I want to be cool. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. You know, it's a very wonderful way to live. We should all actually strive to be like a buffalo or an elephant. Keep our needs simple. Just trying to find the right spot, though. Perhaps not as simple as I thought. Certain mud just won't do. I need the best mud. It's very difficult. We've noticed a lot of the elephants going to different parts of the waterhole recently. That used to be the main place they mud wallowed, but we've seen them going to different spots now. As the waterhole sinks, there's mud emerging all over the sides. But there you go. It's finding some beautiful liquid mud to spray all over itself. Try and cool down and coat itself. Now, they don't get as many parasites as something like a buffalo would. They certainly do get some. So this will help. Especially important because they do not allow oxpeckers on their body. They don't usually allow them to sit on them. They don't like the feeling of those little clawed feet and the beaks. They seem to always chase them whenever they try. So the mud will help, where the oxpeckers can't. It's amazing when you watch them. So I've seen so many elephants now over the time that we've been here. We get to know their movements that they use. Grant, they are majestic. They're absolutely majestic, and they're so regal and composed all the time. They very rarely let their composure slip. They always look like they're in complete control of their surrounding. But every now and again you'll find an elephant, gets a fright from a bird or something in the grass and then kind of lose their composure for a moment. And it's always very funny to watch. As I was saying before, the elephants practice the same movements over and over again, so you can always tell what it's going to do next when it picks up the mud. You can go, it's going to go behind the ear, it's going to go onto its back. Now it's going to go onto its forehead. It's really awesome to watch. As I was saying, they're predictable. They do the same things over and over again, and so that's why, as a guide, you use your knowledge of animals' behavior to interpret and understand, and also to try and anticipate what animals are going to do next, which makes it quite successful. If you, with a little bit of luck, I suppose, also helps. I certainly have had in the past many times where I said an animal is about to do exactly this thing, and then they do completely the opposite, as if to spite me. This elephant is doing exactly as we suspected.
I'm here at Buffelshoek Dam, and it's really interesting. The hippos are interacting quite a bit, and there are quite a few babies around. And in the distance, there are some cows, or they look like cows, having a bit of a tiff. Everything seems to have settled now. And there are at least 10 adults and 3 little babies, 3 little calves in the dam. Isn't that great? That's the most hippos I've ever seen at Buffelshoek Dam. Before I took my binoculars out to have a look, I thought I just saw a big bull's head above water. And then when I took my binoculars out and had a good look, I see it was just a little baby, a little fat sack on top of the mom's back. There are most definitely 3 babies, if not a few more. It's so nice to actually see them do something. Moving about and interacting. Oh, there's the baby trying to climb onto Mum's back. Now, what looks like the newest addition is far to our left. And she's just submerged. Never mind. I'll let you know when they're back up again. Oh, there's that. Look at that. Can you see how I got confused? And how I thought that that might just be a big bull's face? Oh no, it was just a little thing. That's what it looks like. It looks like that. The most adorable thing is when it slides off Mum's back and then it tries to get back on. And sometimes you can even see their pink underbelly as they maneuver around. Can you see there's little crinkles in its skin still? So cute. Now you can clearly see exactly where that calf is, across Mum's back. Lovely sights and sounds at Buffelsig Dam. This mum has reappeared, but this other little one I was hoping to show you has not popped up just yet. Hello, little Grebe. Girl would box. You'd like to know if an annoyed hippo would attack the cub of another hippo. So these would be calves. Cubs would be for the young of filiforms. This little one is just popping up every now and then. We just have to keep tabs on it, otherwise we'll miss it. Girl would box. That can definitely happen. It usually happens with males, though. It's not generally not the females that go and grab another calf in her bloat or herd, really, and then kill it. But it does happen with males, and it's very brutal. Very, very brutal. And that's how we knew that this youngster that's with this female is very new, because she had her and the baby kind of to the northern side of the dam, where it's a little bit shallower and away from the rest of the bloat. There we go. Oh, you can make it. You can make it on. Or you can boat dive under. Come on. No. She's not giving us a break. We want to see your little face. These three are taking it a little bit more easy. No calves to attend to. There in the back, there's still a bit of commotion going on. Anushka, you have a really interesting question. You'd like to know how hippos' feet are structured in order to take such weight. So hippo males can be up to 3 tons. That's large. A female about half that size. But keep in mind that the majority of the time they spend in water. They only spend a few hours out grazing and then coming back to water. So their foot structure is not crazily different to any other even-toed ungulates. So they're part of Artiodactyla, which means that they're even-toed ungulates. So they have 4 kind of lobe-like toes. I will show you my best impression with my hand. Like this. Really, that's it. And then as they walk, they're placing all that pressure on those 4 toes and the palm as well, because that's all fattened up. But it's not necessary. See my sweaty fingers? Oh, it actually looks like a hippo print. It doesn't actually matter whether it's 4 toes or whatever, because they spend the majority of the time in the water. So the majority of their lifetime, they're only spending a small percentage of that putting weight on those feet. And that's why they can actually afford to eat such a small amount of food compared to other mammals of the same size. Almost a third of the requirement, or about half to a third of the requirement that other mammals would have in terms of how much they'd have to eat, because they expend so little energy being in the water. They don't feel their weight as much. They don't have to expend as much energy metabolically, which means that their body doesn't take as much strain, like as you asked with Anushka, with the feet, doesn't take as much strain. And it's a much easier life in terms of biological stresses for them to be in the water than on the land. There might be some adaptations that I don't know that are specific to their keeping that weight up. But if you saw, the foot, it's quite sprawled, the toes are sprawled. And they're stocky. It's not like it's this weight, this 3-ton weight on the legs of a giraffe, These are stocky mammals. I like when the ears turn down. It's as if they're telling you, they're pointing to you where they're going. They look like they're having a silent fight. Hi, Grand. While your question is very interesting, you'd like to know if birds ever land on hippos thinking they're rocks. I truly can't speak for the thought process of the birds, but I can tell you that birds do land on hippos. You will most definitely see oxpeckers. You will occasionally see the stray thickney, who's managed to make its way onto the back of a hippo. And I'm sure other people have seen different birds on the back of hippos too. I recall seeing a picture of a heron, a cattle egret on the back of a hippo as well. But I'm not sure if they think that they're rocks or they fully understand that they're stepping on something just to take a break. Doesn't matter to them. I don't know whether they think it's rocks. Terrapins, they like to climb on the backs of hippos too. Can you see the moving hippo underwater? That's very cool. This is a really nice time spent at Buffelshoek Dam. So much going on. I think I'm going to come here more often. I didn't realize there were 3 babies and so many hippos in the dam. Really, really nice time of the evening too with the setting sun. Just beautiful.
The exact same idea as Trishala, but we are at the very, very north of Buffelshoek at a dam called Kobesi Dam, and it's almost at the Mangalethi border. So we thought we'd come here and see if we can find any characters that we've never met before. But Trishala's right. It's a perfect time of evening to be at a waterhole. So I'm just going to sit here for a minute and let you all enjoy.
All right, welcome back on board here with myself and Owen. And we are definitely getting tapped into the smaller things here at this wonderful pan. The sun really starting to find a long arc, starting to make some beautiful light through those trees. But we've been looking and observing these beautiful little insects right over here. I'm going to use my beautiful porcupine quill just to direct Owen's attention nice and close. Look at that. Oh, he's coming to investigate. This is an ant, more specifically a pugnacious species of ant. Ants are very diverse and really amazing functions that they perform in the ecosystem. Really vital functions, let me say that. So looking at ants, it's very easy to understand if you are looking at an ant or not by its general shape. So we can observe them just moving around. You can see the antennae tapping and moving across this bark. Obviously the antenna uses sensory organs to feel and taste. Very quick moving species. These are very aggressive species. If I had to put this quill down here, you would see they more than likely would attack the quill. Very quick individuals. So all species of ant are social, forming very complex colonies and individuals playing specific roles. So there'll be a very defined caste system within this group of insects, and individuals playing specific roles. So individuals are there for reproduction, individuals are there for collecting food, individuals are there for defending. So if you even look at the morphological structure, even within one species, you would have a variety of different shapes depending on where you are within this caste system. So very easy to recognize this species. If you take a look, it's got like a reddish head and thorax. And then looking at the abdomen, you can see it's kind of grayish, got a silvery grayish appearance to it. And you can see very clearly there's actually a little line, a little stripe that runs vertically down the back end of the abdomen. So obviously finding refuge in this big, beautiful camel thorn. And you can have very, very complex relationships between trees just like this and little organisms just like this. Obviously the trees providing a perfect safe haven or home for these little species. So if you find a browser coming to browse and eat off the tree, these little guys will act quite aggressively and actually actively defending the tree. Watch there, look how he's using his mandibles to almost bite the end of the porcupine quill. And I mean, this is a porcupine quill. It shows you how small these individuals are. I mean, if I put my thumb here, let's just try and find one, just to show you in size reference. Here's one over here. There's my thumb, and look how small that little thing is. Unreal. He's got some food here. Alright, so looking at ants, and just so that you folks know for future reference, when you're looking at ants, sometimes insects can be very tricky on IDing them. So first and foremost, we can look at the antenna. You can see how it's got an elbow or a bend at the first section of the antenna. It's very distinctive with ants. And then that is the head. That's part of the thorax, and that is the abdomen. 3 pairs of legs, 1, 2, and 3. But the section between the head and the thorax has 1 or 2 segments, giving it a very conspicuous shape. And that is found throughout. Look at that. It's got a very defined waist section within the animal's body. So giving it a very distinctive appearance. If you look at these individuals again, look at that over there. These are pupas. These are young individuals. So yeah, that midsection over there, and as well as that bent elbow section on the antenna is very distinctive of ants. Oh, and there's the species we are currently looking at, number 6. That is the pugnacious. So nice reddish color, almost dark maroon, and that silvery abdomen. And look at that line. That we are it's very defined, and you can see very, very easily. All right, I'm going to move it over here and let's take a look. So they're very, very busy on this tree, and ants play, like I said, a vital role. Some of them having relationships with other insects that feed off the tree, and they actually look after these little insects, aphids. Oh, Dillian, do these ants have a queen? Yes. Some species have one queen, and some species have multiple queens. And it's a very prestigious, obviously, role. And the role of that female is just to produce babies. And she'll be larger than other individuals, other individuals, and she is just there solely to make new babies, so the larvae, which then the workers will pick up and take to a special chamber where they'll be housed. Obviously, they got to remain clean, no fungus or bacteria buildup. They'll be fed by the workers continuously with a combination of, it would be nectar or sometimes honey or even other food items. These guys are somewhat of an omnivorous feeding style, so they eat vegetation, plant matter, decaying plant matter, and even seeking out other animals for their own consumption. So yes, within this specific species, there definitely will be a queen. She would have, in the beginning, done a flight. She has got wings and in her early stages, and she would have flown from her natal colony. Obviously, the ability to fly and colonize new areas is a remarkable adaptation. And so she would have flown off, she would have found a spot, buried herself, mated, and from there the colony would have grown. You can see how much larger these individuals are. These are definitely soldiers. So soldiers will have very distinctive mandibles, big chewing mouth parts on the front of the head. And you can see these smaller ones, these are more than likely workers over here. So very distinctive roles being played out just by these two castes that we are looking at currently. I mean, some queens can live, some species of ant, you can find the queen living for 2 to 3 decades. I mean, that is tremendous from such a tiny, tiny little insect. And as well as other individuals. It's obviously a general notion that other individuals are shorter lived. But if you take a look at some workers, they can live for up to 10 years. So a very lengthy lifespan by such a tiny little insect. And they have exceptional memories. So if you see how these ants are moving in and out here, there's individuals within this colony that know a specific route where to go find food. And these individuals actually take out small parties, basically like preschoolers, to show them on how and where to go in order to search for food. It's remarkable. They're actually passing on information. They're very, very complex animals. Tiny little eyes. You look at that. Tiny little eyes. So some species are very aggressive. If you sit near its nest, you'll just get swarmed by them. Some of them are able to give quite a nasty little bite, and some of them are even able to sting you. So be very careful when you're looking and appreciating these lovely insects. For now, we're going to continue enjoying this, and we'll see you later. Oh, little Grebe's got something. It's a little fish. Very cool. I meant to start my segment off a little bit. Normally not just, oh, look at that. But it just happened so perfectly. It's very cool. Tiny little white fish for our grebe here. A little grebe and a little hippo. Very sweet. I thought that the hippo calf was just lying there on its own because the mum was submerged for such a long time. And then she popped up. Oh! They won't always put their entire body onto mum. Sometimes they'll just rest their heads.
These two going at it again. Beverly, you'd like to know if one of the cows would adopt the young of another cow that has died. I don't know, and I'm not sure of any instance in which that has happened, but you do find that in herd animals, it's more likely for that to happen if the youngster is already weaned. I just want to watch this. Look at that, even the baby's getting in on this. But I don't know of any instance where a hippo calf has been adopted by another parent in the herd. Hippos will make little nurseries, creches, where one adult will take care of all of the young, or a few of the young. Oh, baby. Oh, that baby gonna get hurt. I hope that they're probably just playing. It's been going on for such a long time. So if that youngster is in the creche and the mother dies, they might not actually notice for a while that there's the actual mother that's meant to be feeding this child, this youngster, is not around. I'm sure there would be instances of that kind of thing observed or theorized, but I'm not familiar with them. I just saw what appeared to be the dominant bull also open his mouth quite wide and make his way towards those cows that are fighting. We thought that it also could be a young male that's causing trouble there, but usually the dominant male will not tolerate him. If he causes any trouble, if a young male causes any trouble, the dominant male is on him. Because essentially he's doing any other male a favor by allowing them to be in the same water as he is. So he needs to keep in line. So let's just see if the dominant male comes over and sorts things out.
How many vehicles are on Torchwood currently, please?
Sorry about that. My game drive radio on my vehicle. See, they're still going at it, but I don't see the male approaching them. At least not yet, but we'll just keep an eye. Look at that. See, even this youngster is trying. Hi, Yugesha. You'd like to know if the hippos produce or give birth to their youngsters in water or on land? They do in water. They are the only mammals, besides cetaceans, whales and dolphins, that give birth in water. They'll usually find a little kind of nook that's quieter and away from the herd to give birth, and they'll keep the baby there for a while before actually introducing them. Because young males, or males that are not the dominant male, can be problematic with all the hormones and everything, the great smells. Those great smells can make them do things that are uncharacteristic for them being kind of lent the space in the pod from the dominant male. That there actually looks like it might be the male. Starship, you'd like to know if hippos blow bubbles in the water for fun. They certainly do blow bubbles in the water because they breathe air. And to make sure that you can be submerged for longer, you don't just hold your breath, but you release your breath underwater as well. And then they create bubbles. In fact, here you can see some of those bubbles. But whether they do that for fun, I don't know, but it's unlikely. And if I had to pick a yes or no, I would say no. Because fun suggests that they do something repeatedly for no reason that gives them some sort of pleasure. And I can't have measured that, and I'm not sure of any kind of study or anything that has measured that. But if you do know, or there's anything you'd like to share with me that shows that, I would love to know about it, because animals and fun, repetitive behavior that gives them no other positive feedback except that they get pleasure from it. It doesn't increase their survival. It doesn't affect their feeding, their lifestyle, their habitat, anything that attributes to survival. Fun has nothing to do with that. And it's a very interesting concept and topic in zoology, as well as psychology. And there are few animals known to do it. Some unsuspecting animals too. Crows and ravens, they do it. And you can identify it because it's repetitive behavior that means that adds nothing to their survival and success. Octopus do it. Elephants are also known to do it. I think these guys are just having some fun because now the baby's getting involved. Look at that. Just a bit of fun for the ladies in their southeasterly boudoir. Just for them. Very nice. All right, well, we're going to head away from Buffelshoek Dam, see what else we can find. It's the last hour of the show, and that's usually when we start hearing the lions and the leopards and all those exciting things. So I'm going to go see what we can find.
So the steady procession of animals continues with this giraffe now coming down to sate its thirst before the evening. We've also heard from another game viewer that's out and about with our students this afternoon that there's a herd of buffalo just approaching the Waterhole. They're a bit of a distance away, but they should be making their way here relatively soon. I can see more giraffes as well on the way, maybe 2 or 3 more of them. Something's just caught this one's attention. I think it's a group of male Impala, a bachelor herd, which had been drinking a moment ago as well. But because the sun, as you can see, is shining directly into the face of that giraffe, it can't see clearly what it is. It just sees movement, and now it's using all of its senses to try and figure out what that is. It's great eyesight, and it's wonderful sense of hearing to aim directly where the movement is to figure out what that is. I don't think it'll be able to smell it. The wind is not blowing in quite the right direction. It's trying its best nonetheless. In fact, it's definitely impalas. I can see them from here. But we are in the shade, luckily, and so we can see without the glare of the sun. I wonder what it's going to think when it discovers what they are. Speaking of discovering, you should definitely check out this new thing that WildEarth is releasing. It's called WildEarth Explorer. It's a very awesome platform where there's prizes and giveaways, and you can meet interesting people and catch up on the latest news on everything to do with WildEarth. And you find that at wildearth.tv/explorers. Go and check it out. Super exciting. wildearth.tv/explorers. A new platform that WildEarth has released. This giraffe is still trying to check out what's over there. Now the sun is dipping behind a cloud. I'm sure it's going to figure out what it is. Aha, you see, immediately when the sun went down, it saw that's just an impala. No need to worry. It'll make its way slippery, sliding across the mud there. It must be very difficult for a giraffe. It's so tall. It's not a particularly graceful animal, I find. They can be, but not when they're trying to drink, and not when they have to get over rocky or muddy terrain. They always look a little bit awkward. See how it's taking extra special care to make sure those impalas definitely were impalas. The giraffes don't have the largest brain, so they do have to be very, very careful, and they maybe don't have the longest of memories. But one thing they do have is a really special adaptation in the skull that wraps around or surrounds the brain. It's a fantastic network of capillaries that helps the blood to diffuse very gently into the brain when it has to do this. Lean down with its head far below its heart, which ordinarily would give you a massive head rush, a bit of a pounding headache. But the giraffes don't have any issues at all because of that wonderful network of capillaries. Acts like a sponge, you see, so the blood slowly diffuses into the area around the brain rather than just rushing there and causing it to have a bit of a head rush. So yesterday we had the most interesting, experience. Now, I didn't see it. We didn't manage to film it, unfortunately, but these giraffes, probably even the same ones that we see approaching the water now, were galloping around in a herd type of formation, really tightly packed together, chasing impala and wildebeest and zebra and all sorts of animals in zebra clearings just a little bit to our west. So I wonder, I see a wildebeest coming down to the water, and I see a couple more giraffes coming down. I wonder if we're going to see some more of that really weird interaction. I really can't explain what was going on. It's something that I've never seen before. 10 giraffes running together in a herd, literally not just in a straight line, but curling around and doing figure eights and going in circles, but always packed in a tight group. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like that at home. I certainly haven't. Now you see the giraffe having a nice deep drink of water as we start to hear the buffalo just to the right, getting closer with that excitement about the water. So look at this now. We've got 5 giraffe all coming down, 6 even. I see a 6th one coming. Running there, definitely. Running there, they can definitely smell lions. In fact, we had an experience this morning, BK and I. We were driving around, and all of a sudden, a whole herd of impala started freaking out, and they were running up and down all over the place, alarm calling, but looking in all sorts of different directions. And now, although giraffes don't alarm call, they've got an acute sense of smell. And so we suspect, BK and I, that there was a leopard walking somewhere in that area, that the wind had swirled and brought the scent to those impala, and they all started to panic a little bit, knowing that there was a predator nearby that they couldn't see. The giraffe would do the same. If they smelt a lion, you would see them definitely perking their heads up and pushing their ears forward and facing into the wind to try and make sure that what they smell is certainly a lion. All the giraffe now coming to the water at the same time. So this is not a herd of giraffe. They're not associating all the time together, although they've been together for a few days now. They've just come together because of the fact that there's water here, which they'll like to drink quite frequently, and because there's a lot of green vegetation in the area. It's a nice open area too. But I'm sure over the next few days we'll see them start to disappear in their own directions.
Welcome back to Tswalu. So we're enjoying these brown veined whites, but what I really want to focus on is the sound. So I'm going to keep quiet for a few seconds, and I'm just going to let you guys get in touch with the hive of activity from these bees. So there's a lot of honeybees, African honeybees over here that are making these beautiful sounds. And then as well as a lot of leafcutter bees, which make very extensive colonies, which I am still hot on tracks to go find out west. And you can stand in a patch within this colony. They make subterranean nests. And you can stand within a colony and these individuals just swarm around you. You see the bubbling casino is going absolutely berserk right now as well. Wonderful sounds.
The giraffe have just finished drinking, most of them, and we've got another group of animals that have just arrived. Look at that. The buffalo herd is now approaching. Some of them have come over the dam wall already. The rest are still making their way, but just in time. We heard them coming, and they make a lot of noise when they're excited about water. As you see, they're galloping down that wall to get to the water. And you can see how dusty it is. Although the rain did fall and a big storm did happen a few days ago, it didn't drop all that much water. So it is very dry around here. So the buffalo will be very pleased to be able to jump into the waterhole and have a nice long drink, especially because there haven't been any buffalo at the waterhole at all today. This might be the first drink they've had since yesterday. So those animals will be very, very thirsty. Drinking about 40 liters of water each, those big buffaloes. And look at all those horns facing us. That is exactly what a predator does not want to see. And they will start to move further and further out into the water as more and more buffalo approach behind them, in order to get to the cleaner water that isn't so muddy, being churned up by the rest of them. Look at all that dust. Amazing. What a spectacular event to always witness. We're so lucky here at this eco-training camp right next to Ndlovu Dam that we get to witness this stuff almost on a daily basis. It's incredible for our students learning animal behavior. It's evenings like this, with all this activity coming down to the waterhole, that we usually find that a leopard potentially pixie pan female, well, we haven't seen her for quite a long time now, comes to drink in the evening. There are a number of territorial animals, territorial leopards in this area. And they frequently come to this waterhole, but usually in the dead of night. We'll just hear the geese making a lot of noise. And when we shine the spotlight, we see the leopard or lion sitting on the dam wall. They tend not to stick around though, which is a shame. More and more buffaloes come pouring over the dam wall. Some of the older individuals maybe at the end there, which are just lagging behind the rest of the herd. It's a pretty decent-sized herd of buffalo. There might be 30, maybe 40 individuals here that I can see so far. Maybe even more. And these herds will join up more and more frequently. So there's about 3 different herds that we see here at Pride Lands, at this dam. And as the winter progresses, we might see those herds joining up together. Of course, winter's a long way away, and when there's plenty of food around... Oh, look at that horn in the bum there. Getting too close to my patch of water. Jostling the water's edge. As it gets drier, buffalo herds tend to join up because feeding grounds get scarce, so they all have to go to the same watering holes and feeding grounds together. So we might find all 3 of those herds join up later, and we might have one big herd of 300 or 400 buffalo moving around, which would be fantastic. Khaki, buffaloes, when they're adult, they're large, are not really worried about crocodiles. They're far too big for a crocodile to really try and drag into the water. Too big and too powerful. But the young buffalo that you see amongst this group, the calves, they could definitely be caught by a very large crocodile and dragged in. But they'd have to be quite young. Even some of these calves that are on the screen now are perhaps a bit too big for a crocodile to drag in. There's a very famous video that I'm sure a lot of you have seen. It's called Battle in the Kruger Park, where a buffalo calf got chased into a waterhole by some lions and then caught by a crocodile, and then there was a tug of war where the crocodile was pulling on one side of the buffalo calf and the lions were pulling on the other, and then eventually the whole herd of buffalo came charging in and chased them all off and rescued the youngster. Showed the amazing resilience of buffalo. I mean, to be grabbed by an animal with some of the strongest bite force and jaws in the whole world, and then by the most powerful predator dragging in opposite directions, that's quite a tough thing. So khaki, they certainly can be, but only when they're small.
Luckily we caught it, just the tail end of that ball of gas sinking fast. The sun goes down so fast. It's not quite ready to sink below the horizon, but there's lots of clouds there. Now, I've done a terrible job at finding animals today. Really terrible. But I have found the sun. That's a good thing. On hot days, it's not easy. It's not easy to find animals that are also going to be hiding from this ball of gas that's sinking slowly. The cooler temperatures are going to bring them all out. Look, and just like that. Now, there's a nice view here of the Drakensberg Mountains. Theo will quickly show you. Now, this is my last drive for a few weeks. And Mr. Tristan Dix will be back tomorrow, and I'm sure he will find you many spotted cats. I have no doubt. But I will be back again, do not worry. Look at that beautiful horizon. And sometimes we're so busy staring at the ground for tracks or staring up at trees for birds that we forget to just stop. We have driven through all the dams in Buffelshoek. It's been such a wonderful afternoon, actually. Not found any animals there, but we visited them all. There's water everywhere. We even went to Big Dam, which is really not that big. I'm slightly disappointed. The name is misleading. It's a medium-sized dam. But they're all full. Spas, you are asking a question, but I didn't quite understand. Maybe Londeka will say it one more time. It has something to do with the rains in Africa. How have the animals adapted to the rains in Africa? Spas. I don't think I can talk for the whole of Africa. I'm not entirely sure what you want me to say to that question, but rain is a necessary part of life. Everything has flourished. Nothing would survive if there wasn't rain. Rain brings water. Water is the liquid of life. Water seeps into the soils and nourishes everything. The grass grows, the trees soak up the water, grow their leaves. The flowers bloom, the insects hatch. Food is everywhere, which means the herbivores can feast on very nutritious and palatable grasses. I think maybe Theo can give you a view of how lovely, lush and green it is around us. Birds will lay their eggs because food is so plentiful. There's insects everywhere. Birds will migrate here for that exact reason, because of the insect life, to stock up before breeding. And because the herbivores are feasting, and it's such a healthy time, this is the best time for mothers, normally, give or take, to sort of be pregnant and give birth, which is why we've got so many Impala lambs around right now. The wildebeest, hopefully, will have some calves next month too. But because it's such a joyous, wonderful time for the herbivores, sadly, it's a great time for the carnivores. So I'm not entirely sure what you meant there, Spas, but I hope that answered your question. Rain is important as part of this ecosystem. What we don't want is drought. And there's definitely enough water everywhere. So I think I am going to drive on off into the sunset.
You can see the buffalo herd is swelling in number. More and more individuals have come over the dam wall. I don't think it was another whole herd. I thought it might have been. I think it was just a few stragglers that were left behind. But now, I'd say well over 50 buffalo here at Ndlovu Dam. And Lauren says there's plenty of water everywhere at Djuma. I can tell you here at Pridelands it's not quite the case. We've only got this one waterhole at the moment. Well, we've got two. There's two waterholes. Three if you count a small pan on our northern boundary, but all the drainage lines are dry. All the pans are dry. We really desperately need the rain. We had such a good start to the season with big heavy downpours in early October. But since then, we've had hardly a drop, maybe a few mils here and there, just enough to keep the grass green, but not enough to create more water in these dams, which we desperately need. If the dam level stays here, it will probably dry up before the next rains. Not if there's more rain this season, of which there's still quite a few months. You know, rain can fall, it's right now almost the 1st of December, rain can fall all the way until April. You're finding a bit of a shift in rainfall over the past few decades, from November to February, our main rainfall, all the way now, it seems to rain more January to April. So there's a definite shift in the season. I mean, the temperature stays the same. It still gets very hot around October, all the way through till March, April. But the rain seems to have shifted across. Most of the buffalo now are taking the time to wallow. Most of them have finished drinking. I don't think they'll go very far, although it is a very bright moon tonight. And so we probably will expect the buffalo to keep feeding throughout the night and maybe even moving. I mean, when a full moon is there, you could find the buffaloes walking all the way to the other dam, Leopard Dam, which is just over 2 kilometers away from here, with not too much to worry about.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, everyone. And we have the most spectacular sunset at the moment. We have managed to find a pride of lions, but while we were sitting with them, we just noticed the sun setting behind us. And yeah, it's absolutely amazing. So there's some heavy clouds above us, but it seems like further west, the sky's quite clear, so the sun has come through underneath. But there are the lions, and they are fast asleep. So it's been really hot today, and then this afternoon these clouds that are above us at the moment rolled in, and it's cooled down quite a bit. And so I think the temperature for these lions is quite perfect at the moment. And they've come out from the thickets where they were resting earlier, just to lie out in the open where the temperature is right for them. But completely flat and passed out. So there are 2 lionesses here, and then 5 youngsters. Going back there. Thanks, Storybooks. I agree. The colours on the sunset are amazing. We'll have another look. I wasn't sure how long it was going to last, but it seems like it's sticking around. So I was saying earlier, the clouds are above us, and then it seems like further in the west where the sun is busy setting, the sky is quite clear. And so these beautiful pinks and oranges are coming through. Really stunning. But lions don't care too much for sunsets. So the 5 youngsters lying all together, I've been trying to have a look at their tummies to see if maybe they have eaten, because we haven't seen these lions for a couple of days now. They've been up on one of the mountains in Phinda, and there's no real access or no roads up there, and so it's been about 3 or 4 days that we haven't actually seen these lions. But just on the fact that they were gone for 3 or 4 days up on the mountain, gives us a pretty good idea that they did manage to catch something up there. But you can imagine with 7 lions, even something like an Ngala, it won't last very long. Zay, thanks for the question. My favorite big cat is most definitely it's a leopard. I think they're just stunning to look at, and they are I think because of their elusive nature, they are fascinating animals to watch and to learn about, and they definitely, of the big cats, for me, are the ones that have the most personality. So you'll see with each individual leopard, they each have their own personality and they are all different from one another. I think more so than with lions, but you certainly get lions that have bigger personalities than others. But I think particularly with leopards across the board, they are each very unique. And I think because of the fact that we don't get to see them a lot on Phinda, and they're really, really tough to find, that's what makes it even sweeter when you do manage to find one. And I think just the things that they do, climbing trees, they're just quite different to the other big cats. And their, I guess, versatility and adaptability, the ability to survive practically anywhere. So for now, we are going to stay with these lions and send you guys off to another live location.
We have a Marabou stork. I spoke too soon about not being able to find animals. Now, excuse the power line. I know it's really unsightly, but there are power lines here. And the Marabou stork hasn't really positioned himself in the best way. Said to be one of the most, or least aesthetically pleasing of all birds. Sorry, I feel like he heard that. I think they're just wonderful. But they maybe don't look so glamorous or as pretty, shall we say. But looks aren't everything, are they? Very, very large bird, said to look like a grumpy old man walking on the ground. And because they're so large and so heavy, I mean, their wingspan can reach about 2.5 meters, give or take. So that's about 7.5 feet. And they're about 1.5 meters tall, so about 4.5 feet. So big birds. So in order to fly, they've got to be able to compensate for their weight. Although they have large wings, which of course propels them through the air, if you like, they have to have another factor involved. And they've actually got hollow leg bones. Not only are the legs very thin, can't see them very well, but the bones themselves are hollow because bone is heavy, bone is dense. So if it's hollow, that means that it's a lot lighter for the bird. And it's not only the leg bones, it's actually the toe bones as well. You can see his little toes there. They're also hollow. And that just helps the bird in flight. It's an adaptation to allow them to sort of gain momentum to get up into the air. You don't see too many marabous out here compared to the likes of the Maasai Mara. I don't quite know why this one is standing in the tree, but it is. You do find them at carcasses. They are scavengers. They love scraps. They love carrion. But just like hyenas and vultures, they're crucial in cleaning up the ecosystem. Really, really crucial. I always like to say not all ecosystem heroes wear capes. They're so necessary. Scavenging, for some reason, has evolved to have such negative connotations, and it's wrong, and we must change that. Cleaning up decaying carcasses, making sure there's not rotten flesh everywhere. Imagine if every time a leopard or a lion, or even wild dogs, just left behind carcasses, decaying flesh. Can you imagine what would happen to the ecosystem? Disease, parasites would spread, the smells. No one would clean it up. And that's the role of the likes of hyenas, vultures, and marabou storks. So essentially they're preventing not only an awful smell and just an awful environment, they're really, really preventing the spreading of pathogens and disease. It's crucial. And I really wish we could transform that word scavenging into something a lot more positive, or even just those that clean up, those that come in behind and eat up the leftovers. But in saying that, these birds will eat anything. They'll even eat termites. You'll find most carnivores, or even omnivores out here, will snack on termites. Termites are very, very nutritious. Even for humans. If our diet was feeling a little bit deficient, we can supplement it with termites. Darcy Ann, you love that little bit of fluff on top of their heads. I think that's where they get the grumpy old man name from. They have a little bit of fluff, but generally they're quite bald. And they're very funny when they walk. There's an area in Ethiopia called Hawasha where they actually paint specific zebra crossings on the road for Marabou storks. So when you're driving along the road, you have to stop for a group of storks, then let them cross at the zebra crossing, and they walk. They do not fly. They waddle in front of you, and there's little groups of them, and they're just all over the streets. It's rather entertaining. But the storks get right of way. Apart from the power line, that was a wonderful sighting. So I think it's time to leave Buffelshoek and head back to Djuma.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to andBeyond in Ngala. So we've actually had quite a nice, relaxing afternoon here. Seen a lot of beautiful general game, and we actually went to go have a look for the wild dogs again. Unfortunately, they have moved into a thicket, and where they are, we actually can't drive there at the moment because we had so much rain yesterday. They want to be sensitive and don't want to affect any of the greenery and any of the plants and the soils. So we've actually left that area now. I'm actually heading back in the direction of the Birmingham Pride because I know that this is the time that they're going to start getting active. So I'm actually checking our eastern boundary at the moment because this is the boundary that they are closest to. And so I'm checking this on my way to where I left them this morning. And I'm hoping that they might be getting active and coming back towards the river. But it's been such a beautiful hot day, and I was actually just saying to Sebastian that there's a lot of insects out tonight. And it's from that beautiful rain we had yesterday. You can see water in the road. So there's a lot of termite alates that have come out flying over, a lot of spiders out, a lot of little flies as well, and moths. So it's actually been lovely to see some of these smaller things coming out tonight, which we don't see as often unless it's been raining. But it's actually quite a perfect temperature right now. I don't know if you can see all the termites flying in front of me. This is a termite eruption. Absolutely wonderful after the rain.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, everyone. And there's slowly but surely signs of life here. So some of the lions have started yawning and stretching. Oh, and rolling over. Yeah, look at that. And a big yawn. So some of them have been yawning as well. And some of the cubs are starting to play with one another. But we were just admiring how beautiful that lioness is. And the two big lionesses in this group here at the moment in this pride are actually mother and daughter, and they've both got cubs. And it's amazing to see that mother and daughter lying together with, so we're busy looking at 3 generations, and just to see the bond that the mom and the daughter still have. Oh, and a yawn coming. Oh, a sneeze. I thought she was about to yawn. There's a yawn. Oh, a double yawn. Tamane is asking, are there white lions in Phinda? And no, there aren't any white lions on Phinda, so there's no genetic at the moment for white lions in Phinda. The only genetics of truly wild white lions are in the Kruger National Park, in the Timbavati where Ngala is. And so those white lions of the Birmingham Pride in Ngala, as you know, that you might have seen before, those two in that pride are 2 of 3 wild white lions currently living in the Kruger National Park. And the other one, I'm not sure exactly which pride. I think he's actually moved away from his pride because he's reached sort of sexual maturity and he's been chased out by his father, and he's part of a coalition. So that's the 3rd white lion that's moving freely in the Kruger National Park. But no genetics of white lions in Phinda at the moment. But the reason why you might have asked is because of those bellies. So we saw that big lioness, that younger lioness now. So mom is the one on the right, or facing our right, and then her daughter is the one facing the left. And she's busy biting and chewing a branch, which is quite unusual. Maybe flossing her teeth a little bit. The white belly of the mom, as she was lying with her belly facing towards us, the belly of the lion is very, very white in color, or light, should I say. And a lot of the fur on the belly is actually white. So for now, we're going to sit here with these lions and again send you off to another live location.
Look at this beauty. Look at that. Does that not inspire magic and this feeling that the whole world is such a magical place? Stunning out there in space. And our planet and the satellite in a constant little dance. It's 100% full moon. I think we should just enjoy it for a few moments. To get darker and darker. Look at that. The South African moonrise coming to you live wherever you are in the world. Beautiful sounds of the evening upon us. And this moon that I cannot say enough of. In fact, I can't say, there's so much I could say about it that I wanted to say nothing and us just have a few moments with it. Look at that. Looks like a gorgeous, gorgeous painting. Woodland kingfisher in the background. Ooh. Brooklyn, you'd like to know what the rarest sighting I have ever seen is. That's a tough one. You know, whenever we get asked these questions, there's certain ones that come to mind as in best sighting. But rarest sightings? Okay, I can think of a few. One would be, I saw hyena hunt in front of me, grab a tiny little baby duiker in front of the vehicle. I say that's rare because you don't really get to see that. You don't get to see hyenas actually hunting and making the kill in front of you. So that was very, very rare and exciting. Of course, as you would all know, they do hunt a lot of the time and scavenge only about 50% of the time down here in South Africa. But it was a very rare sighting to see that. Another incredible sighting that I had, and it may sound strange, but I watched a tiny little grasshopper move from one instar to another. So basically I watched it molt. When I got there and I sat with it, it was during bushwalk. There was a grasshopper on a blade of grass. It looked stiff, but I didn't think anything of it. Its eyes were still looking fine. It just looked like a grasshopper on a blade of grass. And then it slowly started to get paler. And I must have sat there for an hour and a bit. Paler and paler, and it removed itself from that shell, that exoskeleton, and hopped away right in front of my eyes. That's the type of thing that you don't get to see. That was very special. There's some very special colors there too. So much specialness. This evening is a beautiful one. Can you hear cicadas? And the beeping of the game drive radio. Also soothing. Really, really stunning. I only see one planet in the sky. I'm not sure who it is. I think it might be Saturn, but it's quite far up. Apart from that, the skies are clear and the moon is just gorgeous. So happy to have spent this evening with you and with the moon.
How's that? Welcome back to andBeyond, everyone, and you've joined us just in time. Look at that. So the younger of the two lionesses has just come and lay down in the pile of cubs there, and they all welcomed her with open arms. So there's lots of bonding and grooming going on at the moment, and they're starting to show signs of getting a little bit more active. As you all might know, the lions are mostly active at night, so this is their time of day that they're starting to want to move around. And so this whole process of grooming, stretching, yawning, it's all part of their waking up process. And it's just so lovely to watch it. And you see now the bigger lioness is also coming to get involved. And this bonding is so important for these lions. Living in a pride, being the only big social big cat, these bonds that they have with one another are so important for their survival and for their success. And they spend so much time with one another, which is really important for them being successful, especially with hunting, but also with looking after themselves and one another. Lots and lots of interaction happening. And it is quite hard to hear, and I don't think you guys will be able to hear it, but there's lots of little moaning sounds coming from the lions, but very, very quiet, and only every now and then. But it's been an awesome afternoon, especially with these lions ending it off for us.
It's certainly getting very dark, but I think this is one of the longer days we've had, especially with that bright full moon. I think we may get a last glimpse of some herbivorous animals out here. The days are coming back where I can't talk in the night and look forward because things just fly into my mouth. Oh, hello. We have some beautiful impalas to end off our lovely game drive together. As I'm sure you guys would know, Lauren goes on leave from tomorrow, and Tristan will be joining me. If she hasn't got a chance to say goodbye, I'm sure she would have loved to, but you will see her soon. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful evening. It smells like the festive season. It really does. It feels like families and holidays and braais and all these wonderful things. Gorgeous, warm days, and evenings that seem to go on forever. It really feels like that started, and that's such a happy feeling. And I hope that you're all feeling that too. And that you have a wonderful evening or day further, but it's that time. We have to say goodbye. So thank you for your questions and your comments.
Kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning to all of our viewers and welcome to andBeyond Ngala. We have started off the morning fantastically, stumbling into the Birmingham Pride that has just finished an Impala carcass, and we are watching them grooming themselves. I think it's going to be an amazing day today. Welcome to all of our viewers to your live safari in the African bush.